akong natawhan ning kinabuhi ko akong itugyan ning kasing-kasing ko perme lang kasubo tungod sa gobyerno nga dili pa ato kinsa pa kaha
Ining maong awit nagsugilo sa pakigbisog alang sa kagawasan sa atong mga Cebuanong revolusyonaryo. Ang sudlon ang ilang tinago nga kampo patok sa mga sumasakop nga Katsila ug Amerikano. Naginaot ko nga ang atong mga batan karon maminaw nini para ilang mangguhan nga ang ilang problema dili lang ilaha kundi shared na problem kini. Diin ang hinahanglan og shared nga kasubaran alang sa kayuhan sa katilingbanong Pilipino.
ngadto sa sudlon dili kita muoner niya ng taong malupikon na maoy nagbalikya sa atong nasyon.
Oh, Pilipinas, yuta kong natawhan ning kinabuhi ko akong itugyan ning kasing-kasing ko permi lang gasubo tungod sa gobyerno nga dili pa ato. Tala na mga igsuon, mamauli na kita nga to sa sudlon. Dili kita muner sa mga taong malupigon nga maoy nagbaligya sa atong nasyon. Kinsa bakahang dili mabalaka, kinsa bakahang may amor sa patriya, kinsa bakahang dili mabalaka nga wala hatagi sa independensya. Ring kasing-kasing ko permi lang gasubo tungod sa gobyerno nga dili pa ato. Tala na mga igsuon, mamauli na kita nga to sa sudlon. Dili kita uner sa mga taong malupigon nga maoy nagbaligya, nga maoy nagbaligya. Tala na mga igsuon, mamauli na kita nga to sa sudlon. Dili kita muner sa mga taong malupigon nga maoy nagbaligya sa atong nasyon. Pilipinas, Pilipinas, oh Pilipinas.
What's on your mind, love? Love? Kasi mo yun ako na.
Kinsa may nagpadala ng kaderino?
Ako, mama?
Hindi. Sa kadaugan ba? Sa revolution.
Ang white horse nila yung kila.
Kinsa may nagpadala niya?
Ang mga katipunero nga nag-asa sa 3 de Abril.
Kinsa man ang dasig nila?
Ang mga pari nga gipot na nagulo tungod kay ning supak sila sa simbahan.
Kinsa may nahimong rason sa ilang pagsupak?
Ang mga Indio nga gipugos sa mga katsila nga buhaton ang mga galyon.
Hindi ka nang ilang kaisip.
Sa tugo nila pulapo.
Asa man sila
Love, maabot mo daanin ni malakas og magandaan ni.
Sorry, love. I just want to know di unsa nato pakabot dili. I wish I could see the past. Oh, asa naman ang sa ka-volunteer? Wa pa man lagi. I know. Master Semester summa cum laude. Ibaw ka? Huwag yun na ibilin ako. Ang ako lang, guwapo. Ha? Nana? Asa? Asa ko nagbunuan ako? Marco? Balik lagi ka.
Yes. Bago lang. I didn't tell you kay...
We'll talk later. Magsuo na. Only you have to explain. You still remember that, right?
Yes. How can I forget?
Nanang babaylan. Ready? Ito ta mag-start.
Yes. Years ago, our ancestors believed nga adun na espiritu or diwata steward sa adlaw, sa hangin, sa tubig nga nagabantay sa tanan o nagaprotekta sa tanan.
Dili basta-basta na makapanghilabot ang mga ancestors sa atong kinaiyahan. Una-una, dito na. Huwag mo na itong makitan karon.
Nananhin ang babaylan sa diwata sa kasaysayan, sa atong mga alito, o sa espiritu sa atong mga ancestor. So that malabdagan ta karong una for us to see the past.
And to learn from it. Miss, is this sinulog?
On the contrary, this is before sinulog. As we know, sa pag-abot ni Santo Niño at the hands of the Spaniards, nabago ng atong tinuuhan.
That's not exactly correct. In fact, di pa ngayon sa asawa ni Rahu umabot ng Santo Niño because she wanted to worship it as an anito.
Well, this anito was used by the Spaniards to make the Indios new to them.
Nakaminos na sad ka, as always.
How?
You say that like the Spaniards just waved the Santo Niño at us and all of a sudden, nagpabunyag na dayon tang tanan.
Isn't that exactly what happened?
So mo na gitudlo nila nimo sa Amerika?
Don't be so difficult,
Don't be so
Mia.
simplistic. Ipanalipdan man nato ang atong tinuuhan even when the Spaniards pointed their weapons at us. But how would you know what it feels like to fight for something?
Sino itabo? Asang babaylan?
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 Mali ako. Kinsa ka mo?
Mia! Mia? Kinsa ka?
Maayong hapon sa tanan. Malipayong pagsaulog sa usa ka gatos ug 𝗏𝗏 𝐸𝐵 ka tuig nga kasumaran sa kagawasan sa Pilipinas. A happy celebration of the 125th year of the independence of the Philippines and also of the 162nd birthday of Dr. Rosa Rizal. Pangrass the Cebu Heritage Hotel, in partnership with the University of San Carlos Department of Political Science, the Carolinian Political Science Society, the University of San Carlos Department of Anthropology, Sociology, and History, the Dapitan Historical Society, Museo Sugbo, the Diandi Heritage Center, the Central Visayas Association of Museums, the Rizal Shrine, Museo ni Rizal sa Dapitan, National Historical Commission of the Philippines, Museo ni Rizal sa Dapitan, and so on 2020 present to you this very exciting and enlightening and fun event today, Rizal Loves Cebu. And this is in celebration of Rizal's birthday and the 125 years of Philippine independence. Maayong hapon once again, maayong hapon sa tanan. Thank you very much for those who are with us on site today in this hybrid event. And daghan salamat also to our audience online who are already giving greeting us online. We will mention their names. So to those online, you can put the hashtag Rizal Loves Cebu or hashtag 125 years or Philippines at 125 so that we would be able to recognize you, and also you can also put your place from where you are watching us. So of course, this month, June, is a month of celebrations. We are celebrating the 125 years of the Philippine independence, and also um, June is also the Pride Month. It is a month. Of course, this is not the only month that we honor and respect the LGBTQIA. It should be every day, but we especially remember them and also give honor to our brothers and sisters from the LGBTQIA in this Pride Month. And of course, we celebrate the 162nd birthday of Dr. Rosa Rizal, and that would be on June 19. And did you know that also in Cebu, so there are different versions of this. So one author, like Don Gregorio Abellana, he is a revolutionary, Cebu revolutionary in 1898. He was still 18 when this, in 1898. Don Gregorio Abellana wrote in his book, unpublished book, his regarding the ang kagubot sa Sugbo sa panahon sa mga Katsila, the the revolt or the 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 kagubot, the turbulence in Cebu during the Spanish period. He wrote in his document that in his account that it was on June 19, 1897 that the Padilla clan of San Nicolas. Can we have a separate uh, image of that June 1897 happening in Cebu? So this is actually, June 19 is actually Rizal's birthday, right? So, and of course, we also know later, I will tell you about it, that a year before that, Rizal was able to visit San Nicolas. And of course, San Nicolas is, it's Pueblo de Naturales. It's where the natives resided. Because the Pueblo de Europeo, Cebu City, Ciudad, is where the Spaniards or the Spaniards lived. So in the early part of Spanish occupation. So on June 19, 1897, according to Don Gregorio Abellana, a chapter of a revolutionary organization was formed in Cebu by the Padilla clan with Chupisto Caban. So the recruitment for the Cebu revolutionary movement started without being detected by the Spaniards, and San Nicolas played a key role in the Cebu Revolution against Spain. You would say this is the breeding ground of the revolutionaries against Spain. So in history, upon Spanish occupation in Cebu in 1565, you would know that when they arrived, Tupas burned Cebu. They resisted the Spaniards, but later they were kidnapped, they were hostage, and so they had a peace pact or a surrender. So upon Spanish occupation, the Cebu port area was split into two population centers. One was the Spanish settlement or the Población del Europeo or the Ciudad, and the native settlement or Población de Naturales, the San Nicolas. But later, San Nicolas became more lively. It was the Ciudad became like a ghost town. So in 1856, the bulk of the population resided outside of the Ciudad. There were only 300 Spaniards and Spanish mestizos in Cebu. San Nicolas was a peripheral area for the Cebuano labor pool. And this is from Rizal Mujares and from Michael Colonnane, what I'm saying, the reference for this. So, and San Nicolas and Parian were the more heavily populated secondary districts. And in the 1890s, San Nicolas was incorporated into Cebu City without consultation from its residents. And that's why the residents were so angry. And San Nicolas, because San Nicolas was reduced to be an arrabal or a suburban district of Cebu City, a situation that sparked bitter controversy in the urban area until the 20th century. Even during the American period, it lost its status. San Nicolas lost its status as a municipality. Thus, San Nicolas became the birthplace of the revolutionary movement to overthrow Spanish colonial rule in Cebu. That's why Michael Colonnane, at one time, he has his own version, analysis of Cebu history, and he would say, even without the Manila Katipunan, Cebu would have risen up. So, so it's just an introduction. So it's one of the today in history. That's 19. So that would be Monday. So that's June 19. So according to Don Gregorio Abellana, the first chapter of the Cebu of the Revolutionary Organization Katipunan was formed in San Nicolas on June 19 at Rizal's birthday. Don Gregorio Abellana did not say it's Rizal's birthday, but we know it's Rizal's birthday. So, thank you very much to Don Gregorio Abellana. We actually named one of the rooms of Pangras in honor of him. Lawak Principalia Don Gregorio Abellana. We have a room named in honor of him. So we thank also our partners in our event today. We have the Department of Political Science of the University of San Carlos, and we have all the representatives from the teachers, from other teachers from the Pol Sci Department of USC. We also have the Carolinian Political Science Society, who are the students are here right now. Kuan ko no, can we show? We will show them. So and also we have from the Department of Anthropology, Sociology, and History of the University of San Carlos, we have our teacher from USC Dash. Professor or Mr. Rubia. Thank you very much for joining us. And another partner in this event is the Dapitan Historical Society, and this is right now also being live streamed at the page of the Dapitan Historical Society. Thank you very much. I was actually in Dapitan in 2020 and also talked among the youth of the Dapitan Historical Society regarding our heritage awareness program, especially involving the youth. So we have also our partner, Museo Sugbo, the Diandi Heritage Center, the Central Visayas Association of Museums, and also the National Historical Commission of the Philippines, a Museo ni Rizal sa Dapitan, and SOAN 2020. So daghang salamat to our partners, and this is also showing at the page of the National Quincentennial Committee page. So thank you very much to our audience from the National Quincentennial Committee page, Luisito Oligario, who says good afternoon. We also have Minnie Cruz Langer from Vienna, Austria. Happy 125th Philippine Independence Day and 162nd birthday of Dr. Rizal. Daghang salamat, Mini, for joining us from Vienna, Austria. We also have Danny Lopez Margallo. We have from Aloginsan, Cebu. We have 𝗵𝗵𝘂 𝐸𝐿. So she named her account in honor of a deity in the Visayas, 𝗵𝗵𝘂, goddess or god of the sun. And also Donna Torion from Taguig City and Pateros. We have Christine Cubillo. Maayong hapon, Christine. From where are you? And Ferdy Aparticio, supervisor of the Taguig City and Pateros. We have teachers and supervisors from the Taguig City and Pateros. Daghang salamat for joining us. And we have Bianca Aguilar from 𝗫𝗶𝐿SU Manila. Thank you very much. 𝗲𝗄𝐻𝐿𝑆 Burgunya. We have Rodora Reyes from the tour guides. We have a Cebu Association of Tour Guides. Daghang salamat for joining us. Judalyn Taghoy and Christine Cubillo from Calapi, Bohol. Christine, daghang salamat for joining us. And we have from BLP Commercial, Raul Buzon, our Suki, also a history graduate of USC. And Xiao and Ellen from FLOG Tour Guides, Monch Mabitad from Cebu Association of Tour Guides, and Monch is also a teacher in senior high, and we have also Sela Zera Celia, Papel Diliha, and there are so many more. So maybe we cannot anywhere read your names, but keep your greetings coming so that maybe when you have time, we can still read those. And we have Sobi Wing from Vancouver, Canada, from the Visayas Culture. Visayas Culture page is an international organization of online that advocates for Visayan culture. Daghang salamat, Sobi, for joining us. And from 𝗥𝗲𝘅 Filipino Indigenous Art Society, Rod Del Rosario from Taguig City and Pateros, Carmina Waltz from San Francisco, California. So we are now this is being viewed from the different parts of the world. We have from Europe, from Canada, from North America. Maayong hapon from Cebu, from Jomar and Lian. Cordova says 𝗵𝗵𝐿SU Manila. From and Carmen Gahudu Waltz from San Francisco, California. Daghang salamat, Carmen. I think Carmen is related with the Rappler, si Ryan, right? I'm not sure. Daghang salamat, Carmen, for watching us from California. So we would also like to recognize our audience who registered online. So we have from Luzon, from Western Philippine University. We have from PUP. We have from Dalubhasang Politekniko ng Lungsod ng Baliwag. We have from IRES, Manila, and also Southern Philippines Institute of Science and Technology, 𝗫𝗵𝘂𝐻𝐿, University of Science and Technology, De La Salle University, Adamson University, University of Santo Tomas, Holy Rosary Academy of Las Piñas City. And we also have from the Visayas, University of San Carlos. Of course, we have them on site and online. We have also from the University of San Carlos Museum, from the USA Museum. Thank you for joining us. USJR, University of San Jose Recoletos. We have from DepEd Tacloban. Daghang salamat sa Tacloban for joining us. And Bacolod City National High School, Leyte National High School, Don Vicente Rama Memorial National High School, and this is from Cebu, CTU Daan Bantayan, Cebu, DOT Region 7 Freelance Tour Guides. We have the Cebu Association of Tour Guides. From Mandalaga National High School, I don't know from which part of the Philippines is this, Mandalagan National High School. And Handumanan National High School. Handumanan is a very beautiful name of a school. Handumanan is memories, right? Memories or memorabilia or a keepsake, something that you remember someone or something. Handumanan sa usa ka awit. And then Dr. Emilio Osmeña Sr., UC, University of Cebu, Lapu-Lapu and Mandaue. Cebu Doctors University. Daghang salamat to the students and doctors. I remember that we have medical doctors joining us in our previous events. And we have also from Bohol Island State University. Daghang salamat for joining us. And also from Mindanao, we have the Coalition of Social Development Organizations in South Cotabato. And we have also from DepEd General Santos, Notre Dame Marble University. Daghang salamat to everyone who registered online and to those on site. Do we have the registration form? So later we would recognize the rest. So daghang salamat. So I was telling Xiao, she was Professor Xiao, one of our panelists a while ago that so many are joining our event today because we have a celebrity historian in person in the event today. and, then, and I was telling me that, no, people are watching palm grass events even without me. So humble, right? So, so anyway, so we have also from, of course, we have the Political Science Society, we have from FLAG, and also we have someone from the San Carlos Seminary College. Daghang salamat for joining us. Would we know, I remember during the 𝗤𝗶𝐸 we had seminarians from the Pope John 23rd. They were in senior high. And then I was telling them about the history of the native religion. They were so shocked when I told them, did you know that before the Spaniards came, only the women and the gays can be priests, can be spiritual leaders? And one of them said, no, no. and I said, and then and then one of them, I was asking, I interviewed one, and he said, I asked him, from where are you? I'm from Bohol. Do you know about Tamblot, the native priest of Bohol? He was a babaylan, so he could either be a woman or gay. She no. So anyway, maybe later our seminarians or our theology or philosophy schools would already also include in the curriculum the native religion, like the evolution of the church, even before colonization. So daghang salamat to the San Carlos Seminary for joining. And also we have so from ISCAM, I don't know what is this organization? And TG, unsa di Theater Guild? Is this TG? Is I don't know what is the meaning of TG. So daghang salamat to those on site. And also we would like you to know, especially to those online, that our format in our event, our hybrid event, it's like a talk show. So we'd be asking questions from our resource persons, and then they would answer it in 5 minutes or so. But then if you have questions, we also read them as we go along. So we would immediately read them because they would be buried in the so many comments later on. So for those on site, they have a special portion for the open forum. And we would also like you to know that we have our trivia quiz with exciting prizes. So you should be able to take note. I mean, I remember some audience in the past who would really take down notes, and they would really win prizes at the end of the before the forum ends. So we would also like you to know that we have upcoming events on July 1, 2023. We will have our Libro Fest. It's a journey through Visayan poetry, stories, heritage, and history. We would have our guest readers, literature and poets from the University of the Philippines, Cebu, uh, a professor from the University of the Philippines, Cebu, 𝗵𝗿𝗄, and 𝐥𝐨𝐸𝐿, both poets, and they would be reading with us some excerpts of Visayan and Filipino poetry, short stories, and we would be giving you books, presenting to you books on Visayan and Philippine history, heritage, and literature. So, and of course, on July 28th, this should have been on July 15th, but our resource person, we would be tracing the history of the string instruments in our islands from pre-colonial period until the Spanish period and the modern times. And one of our resource persons is the former Dean of the UP Diliman College of Music, Dr. Jose Buenconsejo, and he was requesting that to have the event on July 28th. So instead of July 15, we will have 𝗏𝗏𝐾 string instruments from pre-colonial to modern Philippines. And we will also have as a guest a popular, a hit maker, the singer-composer of Dili Tanan, Dili Tanang 𝗥𝗏𝘅 𝗛𝗵𝐿 Dili Tanan long hair rocker, the one who sang that and who composed the music. He would be demonstrating some guitar pieces uh, while he was growing up. So this is part of our presentation as we trace the history of the string instruments, and we will give you we'll have the screening, the first the premiere, the screening of our video that we worked so hard since before pandemic. We went to Manila to interview some resource persons, and we'll be interviewing someone from a professor from Mexico regarding the galleon trade and the guitar. So this would be, and there would be a special presentation of guitar piece by a UP Diliman College of Music guitar instructor on Matod Nila. And this would be on July 28th. So this would be a busy July because July 27 is the birthday of our hero, 𝐤𝐴𝐐𝐤𝐿 Pantaleon Villegas, July 27. It would be his 150th birthday. So the day right after the 𝗏𝗏𝐾 event would be the 𝐤𝐴𝐐𝐤𝐿 event birthday, and there would be a hybrid speech contest to celebrate the birthday of 𝐤𝐴𝐐𝐤𝐿 for the senior high and junior high students with the theme, How Does 𝐤𝐴𝐐𝐤𝐿's Magic of Heroism Live in Today's Modern Day Heroes? And this is in partnership with the Department of Education Region 7. So I have said so many things. So we are now introducing our resource persons. So John Carlos says, magandang hapon from South Hari Elementary School. Cyrene Deloro says, magandang hapon from the LSU Manila. So I can only see two pages two pages that are live streaming right now. So I can only read the comments from the NQC page and from the Pamgras de Cebu Heritage page because mahina ang kalaban. I can't look at the Dapitan Historical Society, the NHCP. So I would like to walay ba yung note? So I would like to introduce to you our anthropologist, one of our panelists. We are so happy to have him with us this afternoon on site. We had him as a resource person 2 years ago regarding Santo Niño, and and that was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, he was online, and at that time he was recovering from COVID. And then, but he was still, because of the fighting spirit, he was still able to join us, even if he was in the hospital at that time. So we have with us right now an anthropologist and a public historian, and I would say a celebrity historian. He is teaching at the De La Salle University. He got his master's in history at UP Diliman, and he's currently taking up his doctoral also in history at the University of the Philippines, Diliman. It is our pleasure, and please help me welcome Professor 𝗏𝗏𝘅.
Yeah. Makasaysayang hapon po. Maayong hapon, Sugbo, at sa lahat ng ating mga nanonood po. At syempre, kay Agripina, the beautiful one. Look at her.
Daghang salamat, Professor 𝗏. And so we see Professor 𝗏 really wearing Dr. Rosa Rizal. So, daghang salamat. So, please give to those online, please don't forget to type your questions as we go along so you would be able to ask Professor 𝗏. And of course, he will be with us for the rest of the afternoon. Aside from him, we also have our another resource person. Actually, I would like to share with you that when Professor 𝗏 was here a few months ago, I was asking him that we would like to have him as a resource person in one of our heritage events, and it was him who suggested this topic. Rizal loves Cebu and Cebu loves Rizal. So thank you very much to Professor Xiao for this, for suggesting to have this event today. And also we have with us right now his grandfather. Our second resource person is from Dapitan. So of course we know that Dapitan was the place where Rizal was exiled when he was imprisoned. Because of his fight against the Spanish colonial rule. So our resource person right now has his great grandfather was a business partner in the abaca trade. We are a business partner of Dr. Jose Rizal in Dapitan. And he also, our resource person graduated, he took up his political science at the University of the Philippines, Cebu. And he is also right now an associate professor at the Jose Rizal Memorial State University, and he is a founding member, one of the founders of the Dapitan Historical Society. And he has researched so much about Rizal, what Rizal did in Dapitan. And it is our pleasure to introduce to you our history researcher about Rizal in Dapitan, Professor Rex Hamoy.
Good afternoon, Ms. Agripina, Professor Xiao, and our participants who are on site and online. Good afternoon from Dapitan City.
Daghang salamat, Professor Rex. So, Professor Rex has always been telling, commenting, "Don't call me professor." I said, "So, what are you now in the Jose Rizal Memorial State University? I am an associate professor, but I don't want to be called a professor." Okay, Professor Rex. so, so right now we are also happy that we have with us virtually right now and partnering with us in this event is our National Historical Commission of the Philippines, Museo ni Jose Rizal sa Dapitan. So we have our shrine, Rizal Shrine curator to give us her message. Please help me welcome Miss Sophia Bagulbok to give her message.
Good afternoon, everyone. This coming June 19, we will celebrate the 162nd anniversary of the birth of our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal. It is a timely topic to discuss the meaningful life of Jose Rizal and his connections with Cebu. It offers a fresh angle and perspective on his life, which helps us understand more about our national hero. To begin with, Jose Rizal has a special connection with Cebu, especially when he was exiled to Dapitan. When Rizal was sent to banishment, he was brought from Manila to Dapitan by a steamship named SS Cebu. This sea vessel acted like a key that unlocked a passage in the Visayas going to the significant episode of his life in Mindanao. When Rizal arrived in Dapitan on July 17, 1892, he was welcomed by a Spanish official and a Cebuano man named Cosme Borromeo, with whom Rizal became friends. Rizal and Borromeo's friendship symbolized Rizal's connection with his Cebuano people. Rizal's arrival in Dapitan also became a cultural encounter for the people who speak Cebuano or Visayan language, as referred to his letters. This language is a shared intangible heritage of Dapitanon and Cebuanos. He studied the Cebuano language that produced meaningful linguistic discussions with his Austrian best friend, a Philippine studies scholar, Ferdinand Lumintre. Rizal did not only study Cebuano, but he also spoke Cebuano, signifying his tremendous respect for his fellow people who speak in Cebuano. Jose Rizal's Cebuano friend, Cosme Borromeo, had a son named Marshal Borromeo, who became one of his pupils. Marshal Borromeo learned so much from Rizal that he cherished the wisdom and discipline instilled by his maestro Rizal. Marshal went back to Cebu, where he spent most of his life sharing the legacy of Jose Rizal with his fellow Cebuanos. When Jose Rizal left Dapitan on July 31, 1896, his steamship navigated the waters of Visayas and anchored in Cebu. Rizal was amazed and fascinated by the beauty of Cebu. He practiced his noble profession of medicine to the Cebuanos, signifying his deep gratitude to the center of the Visayas. As Rizal's steamship humbly left Cebu, he observed and gave homage to the island of Dapitan, remembering the courage made by the group of Lapu-Lapu in 1521. Dear viewers, may this educational program be an eye-opener, inspiration, and food for our thought, as Rizal's connection with Cebu is undeniable. His passion and compassion had no boundaries. He served and loved all of his fellow Filipinos, regardless of ethno-linguistic background. Rizal broke the barriers of regionalism. He was a personification of patriotism. Thus, he is our national hero. Daghang salamat, umayong adlaw kanatong tanan.
Daghang salamat to Miss Sophia. A round of applause for Miss Sophia Bagulbok, the shrine curator of the Rizal Shrine, the National Historical Commission of the Philippines, Museum ni Jose Rizal sa Dapitan. So we learned new information about Rizal in Dapitan and also his connection to Cebu in that short message. It's also a very fitting introduction to our discussion this afternoon. But as we celebrate this 125 years of Philippine Independence, we would like to show you the second episode before we would start. This is just 5 minutes. So we would know that the precursor to the national revolution against Spain were the revolts in the different islands in the archipelago, in Visayas, in Luzon, in Mindanao. So we would like to show you the second episode of our short film made by the youth of Cebu, or the Visayans in Cebu. It's Don't Give Up on Us, Baby. So the first episode, you've seen it. You watch it at our countdown. The first episode was 𝗫𝗏𝘅, the one who got away. And then this second episode is 𝗖𝗵𝘂𝑟𝑐, if I remember correctly. And this is the second episode.
Don't be so simplistic. How would you know what it feels like to fight for something?
Mia!
Okay ra ka? Tawag ko ambulansya.
I don't think na ambulansya diri Mia. Gipanalipdan jud ko sa mga anito. Gihatag jud nila akong gipangayo nga bagani. Bagani? Dali! Musulog kita sa kuta sa kaaway. Kisa ka kaaway? Kisa pa man di ay, kung dili ang mga langyaw nga mao'y rason sa huwaw, napupos na ang pailob sa mga anito. Wala ba mo nakabantay nga nauga na ang mga kahumayan? Kulang na ang atong ani, kumapadayon kini. Wala na'y kanon ang atong mga anak. Tungod kini, kay gitugutan nato ang mga langyaw nga magsangyaw dinhi. Kinahanglan lang ro silang palayason. Kay dili nitugtan sa mga anito nga magpadayon. Pwede, sila na lang maghusay sa mga anito. Ganun kita. Ayaw kahadlok pagani. Balaan ang atong sundang. Di panalangin kini nako ngadto sa mga anito. uban sa mga halad alang sa mga diwata. Usa ka gula nga pula nga manok, usa ka puti nga manok, ug usa ka itom nga manok, iligawas kita sa mga anito.
Marco,
Di naman ka. Ninglangan siya tabang.
I think kay balon ako kung asa ta. Kung kinsa na siya. Tanawa yan si Nina. Ang iyang alahas? The speech? It's probably 1621, Marco.
Tamlot? One of the early revolts? Oh no. Kung sila makadaog. Si Tamlot. Huwag ka na ulo. Mia? Tamlot. Kinsa ka?
1622, Marco. King of the Visayas.
King of the... Bangkaw! Nice to meet you, sir. Big fan. Mia, pwede pa explain?
Honestly, wala sa kukibaw ano na ako diri. Pero if damgo rani, I'm having fun.
Mia, gusto naman si Tamlot.
Oh well.
Mia, narasta ka.
You did remind me of the Harry Potter.
Yes. Na-apay impact, di ba? Muna nag-asa sila Tamlot. Bangkaw mo din. Ano? Zabs na kami. Ikaw kung ulo ka ng bidyo ko sa sila. Niya kung sundang. Napani mo?
Kalma! Hindi naman sa kadimo kuyog. Remember, sa di ka daog.
Then why? Ngano mo kuwiban gyapon ka even after tibaw ka sa competences? Kung madakpan ka.
Dakpanday ko.
You've never changed. Pirmi gyapon nimo piliun ang kalisod.
And ikaw, you never change too. Pero may ka mo give up kay Basin Lisod. And it doesn't matter kung ang gistoryahan kay LDR. Or literally, Marco, literally our people's freedom.
It's a historical fact.
That people suffered. Unsa giskimmer to nimong parts nga gipugos nila ang mga natives nga magama og galyon? Wala sa inyong curriculum dito sa States nga gipanggutom ang mga tao, pero gigilgil gyapon sila sa mga katsila for stupid taxes on lands that they stole.
I'm just saying.
You know, sometimes, Marco, layo ra kay kag pananaw if you just learn how to look at what's in front of you.
I'm sorry. But it's for the best.
Asa ko nagkulang, Marco?
Mia, hindi man anak.
Then, unsa? I thought, happy ra ta.
Happy man ta, but
What?
do you seriously think na mag-work at ang relationship? I'll be 8,000 miles away, Mia. Higmatan ako, tulog ka. Dili ta na magdungan og simba. Dili ta magdungan og kaon. Dili na ako kabasa sa mga libro na gusto nimo kabasa sa kuha. If dili ka mukuyog na ako sa States, then dili gid mo work at ang relationship.
My life is here. Ibaw ka. And if you see a life there for you, then fine, dito ka. But that doesn't mean we can't make this work. Marco, I will stay up for you. I will video call you every day. I will still love you, even if layo ka. But you
You
can.
know I love you.
Not enough. Fight for it.
Dili sila gamhanan din Apan kanunay sila nagmando sa atong mga kaigsuonan. Gatuo sila nga mahadlok kita sa ilang mga bitbit nga espada. Ha! Kung unsa kahait ang ilang espada, maupod kabulok ang ilang pagdumala. Ato kini nga pulo, kita ang gamhanan din May anhi silang nagdala og hari. Duna ni hari din Di ba? Daghan na kita nagkuba nga mga kuta. Dili kita muundang hangtod. Mahurot silang tanan.
Mia. Napay sundan.
Ayaw ka agad. Niarap ko.
Mia.
Marco!
Mia!
Asa ang mas importante kanimo? ang kinabuhi sa imong mga kauban o ang kinabuhi kanimo?
Padayon mga kauban, mabuhi ang Pilipinas!
A round of applause for the youth-created video, Don't Give Up on Us, Baby. So actually, it's made by the youth, our former intern at from UP Cebu Mascom, the one who wrote and directed. And of course, we thank also our resource person for that, aside from me. So we have Dr. George Emmanuel Borinaga of the Department of History at San Carlos. I would ask him details, and we also got some of those details from our forum on Santo Niño versus the Diwata. That was our Sinulog event in January 2023, when we had also our indigenous peoples leader, Dato 𝗵𝗂𝐿, who told us about the rituals in still being done until today. So you have seen Tamblot in that video, and also 𝗵𝗂𝐿, the 𝗵𝗂𝐿 rebellion in Leyte, Tamblot in Bohol. So we would find out later after the panel discussion this afternoon, before the trivia quiz and the open forum, you would see the third and final episode of what happened to Mia and Marco as they traveled back in time, witnessing and joining the revolts until the revolution against the national revolution against the Spanish colonial rule. And Professor 𝐤𝐤 here is reacting so much and telling me he can relate to the story. So in the brainstorming of that, I was actually the only one, not Gen Z or millennial in the group. It's actually really youth created, even if we really tried to really, the reference are really from facts in history. So daghang salamat to those online and here on site. So now we would give the questions to our resource persons. So we are discussing about the legacy of Dr. Rizal and also his influence and his role in the national revolution against Spain. So now we have Professor 𝐤𝐤 with us on site, and we're so happy that he's finally with us on site in a panel discussion, because in the past, he used to be with us only online. So we have Professor 𝐤𝐤, so yeah, in a Jose Rizal shirt. So we would like to ask Professor 𝐤𝐤, why is Jose Rizal important?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me. Let's, yeah. So, yep. I'm not here as a panelist before on site, but I'm always here as a guest of the hotel. Okay, where's my PowerPoint? Thank you very much. Yan. So now we have here, yeah. So thank you again, Palmgrass, for inviting me there. If you have other questions, please follow me on my social media accounts and my YouTube and my TikTok. Ayan. So when we talk about the importance of Jose Rizal, why is he a hero? Many times we always focus on he's a hero because he is so intelligent, masyado siyang matalino, marami siyang na-charm na girls, ganun. Pwede siyang bida dun sa Don't Give Up on Us, Baby. Di ba? But seriously, why is he the national hero? When in fact, and it is a fact that for many, many times, he did not want the national revolution to happen and wanted to just reforms that we will become a Spanish province as part of the propaganda movement. And so the answer to that is, why is he the national hero? Because remember that our country is a multi-ethnic, multi-lingual, multi-cultural, and multi-religious people. No? The Tagalogs are different linguistically from the Cebuanos and culturally, and especially the Moros. But what happened was, in many ways, by exposing the what they call this, the common pains of our country, according to Benedict Anderson, uh, Rizal and the propagandists became responsible for making us a nation. Because the nation did not exist. There was no such thing as a nation, Filipino nation. We have a lot of ethnic groups, but not a nation. And so, through their writings, through their periodicals, Rizal, for example, contributed the 𝗫𝐵𝐿𝐵 𝐷𝐢𝐿𝐵 and the 𝗫𝗶𝐿 wherein the characters show us from Luzon to Mindanao that we have one misfortune. So that's why even today, and I always say this, Miss Agripina, after a contested election in last year, what happened to us? We began talking again as a people when we watched Maria Clara at Ibarra of GMA7, because we can again relate to the characters of Maria Clara, of Crisostomo Ibarra, of Simon, of Elias, of Crispin and Basilio, and all the others. And we see the villains in our society as Padre Damaso, Padre Salvi. So the writings of Rizal actually made us one people. We have a common misfortune. Iisa pala yung ating danas, iisa pala yung ating luha, no? At iisa pala ang ating bansa. Pag pinagsama-sama mo lahat yung mga danas at luha na yon. But one other thing was that when you are a nation meaning a people uh, with a common aspiration, meron kayong isang diwa, isang puso, isang pagnanais. That's the term, sentimiento nacional. You have a national sentiment. Well, you have to have an identity first. And so it's not enough to have common pains and common aspirations, but you must identify with each other. And that's when history comes in. Earlier, you asked me about the essay of Jose Rizal. It's probably your favorite essay of Rizal. It's sobre la indolencia de los Filipinos, or to the indolence of the Filipinos. Because this is the perennial problem or the perennial question of a lot of us. Why are we poor? Are Filipinos tamad? Are Filipinos lazy? And Rizal answered this, that it's not natural that Filipinos are lazy, but our colonial experience and eventually the abuses in the society makes people lazy. So you have to act on it. You have to cure that disease. And Rizal looked at our history of colonialism to show that. So this is where Rizal puts importance on the lessons of history so that we can move forward as a nation, and also look at our commonality so that we can have an identity, to show us that we have a past before the coming of the Spaniards, that we have a culture. And in many ways, Miss A, what you're doing is continuing the work of Rizal. For me, I have to say this because we have to encourage people that when we look at our identity, when we look at our culture, and you're not just you are now a known cultural worker in Cebu, but you're not just confined in Cebu. You're connecting the history of Cebu to Tamblot, to Bangkao, to Rizal, to our nation. And so, in many ways, this is the work that Rizal has been doing. And thank you for doing what you do.
Daghang salamat, Professor Xiao. It's for very beautiful words of encouragement in our very hard work, but exciting cultural work as we connect our people, especially the youth, to our history. So maybe our online audience would have questions. So please, Ferdinand Ascaraga, the one who made my replica of pre-colonial earrings as we reconnect with our pre-colonial roots. So this is the replica of the pre-colonial earring. So we have been discussing our pre-colonial culture. And that is also what our heroes did. Rizal, Rizal did, what our heroes did, they rediscovered our pre-colonial culture and roots. So maybe you could also answer this, the annotation of Rizal to Morga's
Yes.
how important is it in the struggle for independence, or for in the formation of a nation?
Remember that in order for people to ask them to fight for something that is abstract as freedom of the nation, again, the reality is that not so many people realize the importance of this before. We were Cebuanos, Bicolanos, Tagalogs. So and you have to make people identify with the past. You have to make people identify with their ancestors. And you have to also make them believe with themselves. Because the colonizers were telling us that our ancestors were stupid. But when you look at the Morga, the remember that Rizal wanted to write a history book. He did not first want to write a novel. He wanted to write a history book to clarify our past. But he said, if I'm going to write a history book, the Spaniards would not believe me. So I'll just pick a work of a Spaniard and annotate it, meaning I'm going to put notes so that I can correct it or I can reinforce what Morga was saying, and in so doing, was able to create the very first Philippine history book uh, in the Filipino perspective. So it's like an interrogation. Morga was saying something, and Rizal annotates it. So I think that's one good thing that Rizal did, was to, in many ways, even if he was speaking in Spanish, he was writing in Spanish, to propagate a Filipino perspective in our history. For example, in one of the pages, Morga said that we are eating rotten fish. And Rizal annotated, no, that's not rotten fish. That's bagoong. You know, that's bagoong, and we're not eating rotten fish. And it's not rotten, okay? So, these kinds of things. And he told us about the balangays of our ancestors. He told us about the gold of our ancestors and all of these things. And so to reinforce that our ancestors are great, and that greatness flows to you. The greatness of Lapu-Lapu, of Cebu, of Mactan flows to you. And so these reminders, and this is important now for the Katipunan. Because as you said earlier, the writings of Rizal was internalized by Andres Bonifacio. And what he did was, for those who cannot read Spanish, he was able to make them understand by writing them in essay form or poetry. So Rizal's essay, Amor Patrio, Bonifacio made it to Pag-ibig sa Tinubuang Bayan. And the Morga was transformed into ang dapat mabatid ng mga Tagalog. So that's why Rizal became the potent symbol of the revolution, even if many times he did not want it.
Dahil salamat, Professor Xiao. So we would also like you to know that at 𝗵𝗄𝘅 the Cebu Heritage Hotel, we have this book by Professor Xiao Chua. This is available at our 𝗵𝗄𝘅 Basahanan. Please also show Professor Xiao. So because this is his book. So this is the book by Professor Xiao. Ni-match sa akong hablon. It matches my hablon. And hablon is also available at 𝗵𝗄𝘅, the Cebu Heritage
Wow.
Hotel. Sinugatan gifts from Cebu. Oh, nag-match yun siya. The book matches my hablon. So, Bayani Biographies, Andres Bonifacio by Professor Xiao Chua. So, now pa. So, and then also, yes. And we have signed. This is signed. We have signed books. And also, if you would, you can avail of signed books by Professor Xiao. So, so now we would like to ask Professor Xiao regarding the connection of Rizal to Cebu.
Okay. So I'm going to show something. Yeah. First of all, I would like to quote a Cebu historian. I'm not an expert on Cebu, but I have there's a very beautiful book. It's out of print, and I hope this gets reprinted by San Carlos University Press. It's called the SUMAD, Essays for the Centennial of the Revolution in Cebu. And I would like to read some parts of it so that I won't get it wrong. What happened was, uh, it's very rare to connect Rizal to Cebu because he did not stay here for so long. But apparently, Miss A, uh, Rizal, as you said earlier, actually visited Cebu after his exile in Dapitan. So he passed by around August 1896. This is like a few days before Andres Bonifacio's revolution, where his life will just, go haywire and will lead to his execution. Okay? So basically what we're saying here is Cebu was one of the places where he enjoyed before he died. Okay? So what happened was, and this is a good thing. This is a good thing to know. According to Ma'am Alburo, Jose Rizal came to Cebu accompanied by the governor of Zamboanga without much notice. And the ship he was on, the España, was from Dapitan. Dock at the pier was 𝗥𝗍𝐬𝐞 and Company and Mora Street in Cebu's Lutao district. So you're very much familiar with this. Okay, according to writer Jacinto Alcos, the first Cebuano who approached Rizal was an unnamed fisherman whose eyes he operated on while on the ship. Kasi ophthalmologist siya, di ba? So, I'm sure hindi nagpabayad si Rizal. May problema, kita niya may problema, inanyo niya, no? Ginamot niya. The fisherman must have advertised the successful operation for the next patient came from 𝗥𝗲𝘅, Jaime Enriquez, brother of 𝗵𝗵𝑂 Enriquez, an ex-justice of the peace, who accompanied by a priest named Ricardo Alonso. The operation was witnessed also by Andres Llamas, who said that Rizal cut some veins and warned the patient not to smoke or to stare into bright light for a few days. For fixing Enriquez's cross eyes, Rizal received 25 pesos, which was a large sum at that time. So mayaman itong Cebuanong si Enriquez. Then, he went to San Nicolas district, as you said, and he visited the house of Don Francisco Mateo, and he was looking for a Dr. Rembo, a doctor whom he had met in Mindanao, who first introduced the practice of injection there. So yung first na nag-injection sa Mindanao, taga Sugbu, binibisita ni Rizal. But the two other friends whom Rizal wanted to see while he was in transit here were Julio Llorente and Juan Climaco. Now, we do not know so much about Climaco's relationship with Rizal, but Llorente's acquaintance with him is better known, according to Alburo. In an interview in 1950 in Manila, Llorente said that he knew Rizal in Madrid to be a person incapable of double dealing. Hindi siya mandarayang tao. So, these are personal anecdotes of a Cebuano on Rizal. Hindi siya manloloko, a man of promptness, hindi siya nalilate, of propriety in dress and grooming, and without affectation. He added that Rizal was a loyal friend and that there was no man like Rizal. A detail Climaco remembered was a solitary ring from his mother that Rizal always wore. So, meron daw suot lagi si Rizal na singsing, bigay daw ng nanay niya. So, these are just a few of the Cebuanos he met, but he also had a student in Dapitan, a Cebuano, and I think we can talk about that too.
Daghang salamat, Professor Xiao. So we have also from the National Quincentennial Committee page, 𝗏𝗏 𝗏𝗏𝐸𝐤 greeting us from Vienna, Austria.
Wow.
Daghang salamat, 𝗏𝗏, for joining us. And also we have Abad Ariola Nathaniel from Taguig Integrated School, Sheila Malyare from Taguig Integrated School, Alp Asa from Flag Tour Guides, and Vilma Briones Chua.
Oh, my mother.
Your mother.
I love you, Mama.
Makasaysayang araw, watching from Tarlac City. Mabuhay po kayo. Your number one fan.
Oh, yes. She always watch me. And I would like to greet my girlfriend, Mai, who's present in the audience today. Oh,
yes,
diba?
very beautiful.
And a cultural worker, Orla 𝐤𝐵𝐸𝐿 𝐸𝐿 from
Yes.
the 𝐤𝐷, from the Cebu
Is he now here?
Cultural and
Ay,
Heritage
Orlan.
Office of Cebu, si Orlan.
Daghang
Ayan.
salamat, Orlan, for joining us. Orlan also was my tour guide when I went to the south part of Cebu. So
Yeah.
during the pandemic, so he helped us locate those baluartes, and also he also helped us locate the churches, and he even helped in the photography and video.
O tomorrow ha, Orlan ha. So,
So there is a question already for Professor Xiao. I don't know if I cannot longer see it. It's from 𝗫𝗿𝗄 Maybe we could reserve the answer later,
later.
after,
Yeah.
but we can already mention the question after the sharing the answers by Professor Rex about the Dapitan and Rizal and Cebu. So there is a question, wala na nako makita. It's buried. It's about 𝐤𝐸𝐞 𝐑𝐢𝐻. Can you still see it, Michael? Michael, our tech is also Michael. So it's the question is if 𝐤𝐸𝐞 𝐑𝐢𝐻 had read also the works of Rizal. If our hero 𝐤𝐸𝐞 𝐑𝐢𝐻
That I do not know. You might answer that well, better than me.
So while we would take that up later maybe. So we have also this comment from TG Tolets. TG, from where are you? And also, I remember TG has been joining us, but I forgot where is he in which area in the Philippines is TG from? And he says it's an honor and pleasure to be part of this activity. Good afternoon.
But
So,
But you know,
yes.
to answer the question, I'm sure that they have heard of Rizal. I'm sure that they have read parts of his works. And because if I'm not mistaken, reading from what I remember from reading from Muhares and Cullinan and all the other historians from Cebu, that they were a lot of the Cebu revolutionaries actually were in the ship, the docks of Manila, di ba?
They were actually there was a ship sailing from Cebu to
Yeah,
Tondo every
right.
week, and that's how they interacted with the Katipunan in
Correct.
Manila. And also 𝐤𝐸𝐞 𝐑𝐢𝐻 was recruited by a member of the Katipunan in the circus because he went to Manila. He was recruited to the circus. He was a champion horse racer.
Wow.
He was a champion horse racer in Cebu, and he was recruited to go to Manila to join horse racing and to join the circus. And of course, he fought battles of the Katipunan in Luzon. So of course, we know that the Katipunan, Andres Bonifacio, they honor Rizal so much. They
Right.
have Rizal as their password. Andres Bonifacio was a member of the La Liga Filipina, and they formed the Katipunan when Rizal was arrested and brought to Dapitan. So of course, the Katipuneros and 𝐤𝐸𝐞 𝐑𝐢𝐻 is really a Katipunero, is a member of the Katipunan.
Right.
He was one of the Katipunan generals who defied the surrender of Emilio
Emilio
Aguinaldo.
Aguinaldo.
When Emilio Aguinaldo went to Hong Kong, some Katipunan generals decided to continue the revolution even if Aguinaldo is no longer around. And one of them is 𝐤𝐸𝐞 𝐑𝐢𝐻. And that's why in Negros Oriental, in their manifesto to honor 𝐤𝐸𝐞 𝐑𝐢𝐻, they mentioned that he was a very brave general because he defied Emilio.
And just for the people who are not familiar with palm grass, isn't your great grandfather Isidro Givelondo?
Yes.
It's in their house that they were planning the revolution in Cebu.
Yes. So now we would there is also a comment from Hector Kalimdim Bakal. Nakatunghay mula sa 𝗫𝗵𝐴 University of Science and Technology, Cabanatuan City. Daghang salamat, Hector. Thank you very much for joining us. And so we have this question right now for Professor Rex. So later we would go back to Professor Xiao regarding Josephine Bracken in Cebu.
Yes.
And so one of the babies of Rizal.
Yeah.
The wife of Rizal.
Yeah.
So we have now Professor Rex Hamoy. to tell us about, you would like Professor Rex. Professor Rex has been a resource person of the Dapitan Historical Society regarding the life and works of Rizal in Dapitan. And of course, Professor Rex's great-grandfather had a working partnership with Rizal in business. So Professor Rex from the Jose Rizal Memorial State University in Dapitan and he also graduated in Cebu, UP Cebu, for his political science. So we would like to ask you to tell us about the Dapitan. What was Dapitan in the late 1800s, and what was its connection with the other islands in Mindanao, the Visayas, and especially Cebu? If you can answer this. So, sige, Professor Rex.
May hapon sa tanan, no? Good afternoon, my Miss Agripina, Professor Xiao, and the rest of our participants. So Dapitan was actually, well, it's a very old place. The name Dapitan already appeared in the maps of that were released in the 1600s. Little is it known that before Legazpi went to Bohol, he actually passed by Dapitan. And that is recorded in the writings of Father Francisco Combes. So actually, Legazpi wanted to proceed to Cebu because that's what he knew about Magellan, Cebu. But since the people in Dapitan were actually Boholanos, he was guided not to Cebu but to Bohol, where there happened the first recorded blood compact. We even joke among ourselves that if he entered into a friendship with the local dato here, Pagbuaya, who was a Bulanon, perhaps the first compact, which is a sign of friendship, happened in the Dapitan city. But that is just a theory. And then later on, the Jesuits came in 1631. They established a permanent mission, and since the cross and the sword go together, a government was also established in Dapitan. That was in 1631. If you ask me about the connection of Dapitan with Cebu, administratively, there was none. Because Dapitan was under the province of Cagayan de Misamis, which later on became the sub-province of Dapitan, extending from present-day Misamis Occidental up to the last municipality of Zamboanga del Norte before you reach Zamboanga City. So the territory was quite large. But ecclesiastically, we were under the Bishop of Cebu. The Jesuits, the parish of Dapitan was under the Diocese of Cebu. And it was during Rizal's time that when he wanted to marry Josephine Bracken, the parish priest of Dapitan refused to do so because he knew that Rizal was a Mason. And before he could wed the two of them, he had to retract. So Rizal submitted a retraction to the parish priest, who then said that he had no authority to rule on the retraction, and that he should send it to the Bishop of Cebu, which Rizal did. But eventually, nothing came out of it. So Rizal, feeling that there was no action, simply cohabited with Josephine Bracken and considered her his common law wife. So, with regard to the Spaniards, you have mentioned about Leon Quilat, the resistance of Cebu towards the Spaniards. The same thing was not present in Dapitan. The theory is the Spaniards were greatly outnumbered here in Dapitan because Dapitan was a very remote place. So perhaps they had to behave. Otherwise, the local folks would gang up on them. But actually, when the Revolutionary Army came from Cagayan de Misamis and kidnapped, forcibly took the parish priests with them as prisoners, that act made by the Revolutionary Army from Cagayan de Misamis was greatly resented by the Dapitanos. So one could say that the Dapitanos their hearts were closer to the Spaniards than the Revolutionary Army of Aguinaldo, who had a let's say, following here in Misamis Occidental, Cagayan de Misamis.
Salamat, Professor Rex. So actually, when I edited when I edited this book, 𝗵𝗃 published the the 2021, the fourth edition of this book, A Short History of Cebu. And we always see the Dapitan mentioned here, actually. So in the short history of Cebu, it is also here that we would find out about the development of Catholicism, or the religious congregations in Cebu, because Dapitan was a mission area from Cebu. So the Jesuits, it was the Jesuits who had a mission in Dapitan. And of course, there is also a mention here about what happened during the expulsion of the Jesuits from the Philippines, Cebu. So of course, so we would also find out when we had our video, when we made a video about the history of the Sinulog. And then Professor Darwin Absari of the UP Diliman Institute of Islamic Studies let me read a book about the history of Sulu. I saw there, so I was telling Professor Rex even before this forum that the history of the Pitan did not start with the the Portuguese attack in Bohol, and some Boholanos went to the area in Mindanao, because in the book on the Sulu Empire in 600 AD, the Pitan was already mentioned as having, like, Sulu had already trade with Champa. And Dapitan was also a trading center. So Cebu was a trading center in the 1500s. We already know that there was a very lively trade, but Sulu was also a trading center. And also Dapitan, even in 600 AD, was already trading with Champa. So the history of the Dapitan goes a long way. So so anyway, Professor Rex, we would like you to ask you also regarding the Pitan in the Spanish colonial period. You have been telling us that um, the Pitanons were closer to the Spaniards than to the
Correct.
revolutionaries. So we
Yes,
would
yes,
like
they
to
were.
ask, what was the role of the Pitan in the Spanish colonial government? And later, we would ask you what happened to the Dapitanons' perception of the Spaniards when Rizal came. Later na na. So later, I would ask you that later. But first, I would ask you, now, why is it, what was the role of the Pitan in the Spanish colonial government? And why is it that Rizal was brought, the Spaniards chose Dapitan to be the place that where Rizal should be exiled or imprisoned?
Okay, so what was the role of the Pitan in the Spanish colonial government? The answer is it was practically none. It was just a far-flung pueblo, or let's say a pueblo within the province of the same name, the province of the Pitan. Yes, but again, ecclesiastically, it was the entry point of the Jesuits. All the Jesuits that were to be sent to Western Mindanao had to pass by the Pitan.
Yes, so we have now an audio
Does not
problem.
escape the
Okay.
attention of tourists. So they would always ask, Dapitan is a very small town and yet you have a big convent. Yes, because all the Jesuits that were sent to and all the places that known as visitas, they had to pass by the Dapitan to learn the language of the Subanens, whose, let's say, conversion they were tasked to. And then they were sent out after that.
So maybe we can also show the photos that Professor Rex sent us regarding how the Pitan looked like in the 1800s. So may we show some photos of the Pitan, please? So while we are still preparing for those, so we would now like to know, yes, this is the town of the Pitan in the late 1800s, and we have also the church. Um, they are going to celebrate their fiesta in July. So the church is, and then in front of the church is the the map that Rizal, it's like a relief map. Rizal made a map of Mindanao, and it's in the plaza of Dapitan. And also, of course, may we show the Juan? There is also, even if this book is about the urbanization of Cebu in the archival records of the Spanish colonial period, Integración Internación, by Dr. Jose Eleazar, edited by Dr. 𝗫𝗶𝘅 and Dr. Ino Manalo. This also contains a sketch of a fort in Dapitan, a fortification in Dapitan. So please, may we show the photo of the photo from this book of the fortification, the fort in Dapitan. So there is a place there in Dapitan, the Ilihan. It is a mountain. It's a hill. So this one, this was shared in the Dapitan Historical Society page, and they were discussing from which part of the Dapitan is this, because they could not recognize the terrain. So they were saying maybe this is a sketch that was not from someone who was not in the Dapitan. And then, so this is a Spanish document with a sketch of a fort in the Dapitan. So of course, Professor Rex was telling us that Dapitan was the place where Rizal was brought by the Spaniards because it is very far. There was Professor Rex. There was no way for Rizal to escape from Dapitan.
Well, but before that, no, could we please go back to the first picture that you showed?
Yes.
The one taken from Ilihan Hill, showing the church. Yes, the first picture that you flashed.
Town of Dapitan, the town of Dapitan.
Yeah. Yes, yes. You will notice that on the right is the church. No, it's very clear. At the side of the church is the convent, and to the right is a house that is painted white. That is the Casa Real. The one in the left is the convent. Actually, when Rizal arrived, he was made to choose whether to stay in the convent or in the Casa Real. Initially, he chose to stay with the Jesuits because they were the same people whom he knew in Manila. But when he found out that there were certain conditions attached to his stay there, he opted to stay with the Comandante, which was the Casa Real was just a few meters away from the convent. So, well, Rizal was exiled to Dapitan, and there is actually no official reason why Dapitan was chosen. We have the reasons why Rizal was exiled to Dapitan, but as to why Dapitan, of all places, was chosen to be his place of exile, well, there are some conjectures to it. No? But it goes back to his first homecoming. In his first homecoming, the Governor General was Governor Terrero. So Terrero summoned Rizal to Malacanang to ask him about the book, which apparently Terrero was not able to read, so he demanded a book, and then later on read it and found that there was nothing wrong with the Noli Me Tangere. And as Rizal said, he only exposed the truth. So, but the friars were always going to Malacanang every day, according to Terrero. So, at a certain point in time, he called Rizal back to Malacanang and advised him to leave while he could still prevent the friars from doing any harm to Rizal. So, upon orders of the Governor General, Rizal left, went to Hong Kong, then to the United States, and then back to Europe. But 4 years after, he came back to Dapitan, to the Philippines. And then the headache of Governor General Terrero became the headache of Governor General 𝗫𝗶𝗅, who was the Governor General at the time. I don't know how many candles he lighted in order for him to come with absolution, but incidentally, at the same time, the superior of the Jesuits was Father Pastels. And who was Father Pastels in the life of Governor General 𝗫𝗶𝗅? Actually, both came from the same province in Spain, from Catalonia. So as sociology says, if you're not close in your place, but if you go to another place, a foreign land, you become close to each other. So that's how Rizal could have, that could be, Father Pastels could have been instrumental in advising Governor General 𝗲𝗵𝘂 to send Rizal to Dapitan. And why Dapitan? Because Dapitan was very far from Manila. The boat only went there once a month. If anything happened in Manila, it would take a long time for the news to reach Rizal. Second, the Jesuits were worried about Rizal's religious beliefs because after Rizal came home from Europe, all the Catholic beliefs that he learned at the Ateneo seemed to have changed already. So while Rizal was in Dapitan, Father Pastels wrote him, this is termed as the Rizal-Pastels debate, because they wanted Rizal to go back to the Catholic faith. So where else to assign him, to deport him, but in Dapitan, which was Jesuit territory. And of all the religious orders, Rizal would only listen to the Jesuits. The third was the presence of a civil government, politico-military government, who could guard Rizal against anybody who would like to harm him. And then fourth, well, it was a lonely place. Rizal would be able to reflect on his situation, which was actually a result of his writings against the Spanish government. So those could be the four probable reasons why he was sent to Dapitan. And incidentally, also, when Rizal was imprisoned in Fort Santiago in the early days of July 1892, his cell was not a typical prison cell. It was like on a holiday. And then when he was sent to Dapitan, his accommodation was beside the accommodation of the captain in that ship. And the ones who escorted him to the pier were high-profile people. General Humada, who was the second in command of Governor General 𝗲𝗵𝘂, and Ramon 𝗲𝗵𝘂, who was the aide-de-camp and nephew of the Governor General. So he was somebody important. So I think, we think that when Rizal was sent here, it was not really a form of exile, but rather to isolate him from his enemies. If Terrero sent Rizal back to Europe, 𝗲𝗵𝘂 sent Rizal somewhere in the Philippines to isolate, to Dapitan particularly, which is a very far place, to isolate him from his enemies who were mostly in Manila, the friars.
Daghang salamat, Professor Rex. So, and of course, I saw that the place where Rizal lived in the Rizal Shrine. We see his clinic there, his house, and he was not living a life of a prisoner. And we saw his his rock, the Miretero rock, where he wrote his poem and where he would have dates with Joseph and Bracken in that rock. It's facing the sea. So it's a
Yes, so
beautiful place, the place where Rizal lived in Dapitan. You should go to. So the shrine curator, Miss Sophia, would be very happy to welcome everyone to go to the shrine, the Rizal shrine in Dapitan. So, Professor Rex, thank you very much for giving us your insights of why Rizal was brought to Dapitan. In all places in the Philippines, why Dapitan? So, Professor Rex gave his insights why Dapitan for as a prison for Rizal. So
Rizal.
now we would like to ask Professor Rex regarding this Cebuano who got associated with Rizal in Dapitan.
Yes, he was Cosme Borromeo, a Cebuano. There are several Cebuanos in Cebu whose surnames is Borromeo. Cosme Borromeo arrived in Dapitan in May of 1892 to seek better opportunities. Marcial Borromeo, his son, was quite detailed when he described the time when they went to Dapitan. He was 10 years old then, si Marcial, no? Making him the youngest pupil of Rizal, Marcial Borromeo. They took the steamship Bohol from Cebu to Dapitan, although we cannot be sure with that because some say that you have to go to Dapitan from Cebu, you have to take the boat which goes to Manila, and then from Manila you have to go back to Dapitan. So 𝐥𝐵𝗄𝐿 went to Dapitan to look for better opportunities, to look for land. And again, Marcel Borromeo says that they already had many relatives in Dapitan, but he does not disclose the family names of these people. So 𝐥𝐵𝗄𝐿 opened a drugstore and became close to the comandante, who would always invite him for a tertulia or a late afternoon talk. So if Don Cosme would not show up, Carnicero would call for him. It was on one of these tertulias that Rizal arrived in Dapitan. They never knew that a boat was coming because the boat that took Rizal to Dapitan was not a regular mail boat. It was a special trip to bring soldiers to Fort Pilar in Zamboanga. And since Dapitan was along the way, the captain of the ship had special instructions to drop Rizal to Dapitan and to entrust him to the military commander. So, while having a tertulia, Carnicero, 𝐥𝐵𝗄𝐿, and some of the elite people in Dapitan at the time, all of a sudden, soldiers showed up. 3 artillerymen, the captain of that expedition, and one handsome Filipino who was actually Rizal. Carnicero was not informed about the arrival of Rizal, so nobody knew. Nobody met them at the shore, which is around 400 meters from the Casarian. They just walk in, and then the letter of introduction was the letter of what they call his commitment papers was given by the captain to Carnicero. Later on, there came there developed a friendship between Carnicero, the comandante, 𝐥𝐵𝗄𝐿, the businessman, and Carnicero, the warden. So there was no barriers between them. They were often seen going to an afternoon stroll at the shore and coming back during nighttime in time for supper. Borromeo, aside from being an owner of a drugstore, also became the justice of the peace in Dapitan. So let's say murag kuan siya, no? He could be a well-educated person. Well-educated person. And later on, when the property of Rizal was confiscated by the Spanish government as payment of his civil liability, it was actually Don Cosme who became the custodian of these properties. They inventoried it and appointed Don Cosme as custodian of the property. They also had lighter moments. In a few days after Rizal came to Dapitan, it was already fiesta season. They were fond of lighting explosives. There was a cylinder which they would place a lot of pólvora, gunpowder, and then light it, and it would emit a very large explosion. In one of those occasions, a certain person actually had a mangled finger because of that explosion. So where else to bring him but to the doctor, Nagoy doctor. So they brought him there. But Rizal had no instruments. So he borrowed the scalpel and forceps of 𝐥𝐵𝗄𝐿. And I don't know why 𝐥𝐵𝗄𝐿 had this, but some say he was also a practicante or a paramedic. And Rizal amputated that fingers in the absence of anesthesia. That person was his first patient, Sotero Lagarnia. And while Rizal said that he had no talent in music and he could only supply the lyrics, actually Rizal became a very proficient flute player in Dapitan. And that flute was lent to him by Don 𝐥𝐵𝗄𝐿. Together with the Dapitan musicians, Rizal would play the flute, Don Cosme would play his violin. So that was how close they were. But after Rizal's departure from Dapitan, nothing is known about 𝐥𝐵𝗄𝐿, and presumably he went back to Cebu because soon afterwards the Americans came and the business climate in Cebu was better than the business climate in Dapitan.
Daghang salamat, Professor Rex, for telling us about the friendship and the connection made by Rizal with 𝗵𝗂 Borromeo as Cebuano. And please also tell us about the experiences of this Cebuano student, the son of 𝗵𝗂, Marshal Borromeo. So the son of 𝗵𝗂 is Marshal Borromeo. We would like to know his experiences, and may you also tell us how many were the students of Rizal in Dapitan, and one of these is one of those was Marshal Borromeo as Cebuano, but please tell us more about Marshal Borromeo's experiences.
Yes, so he was known as the Benjamin of the class because he was the youngest. So actually Rizal at first he simply wanted boys there to work on his estate because there was already a parochial school in Dapitan. But later on, because it was always his dream to open a school, he found out that these boys could not just go to town every morning and come back in the afternoon. So he thought of opening a school. And one of those criados, working students, was Marshal Borromeo. When the parents of the boys in town learned that a school was opened in Talisay, all of them wanted to send their children there. And for Rizal, no, he did not want the teacher in the parochial school to think that he was pirating his students. That's why he devised a way of accepting students. So Marshal Borromeo writes that it was a test of bravery. The entrance exam was not a written exam. It was a test of bravery because Rizal expected men to be brave and later on men to be able to keep secrets. So when a new student would come, Rizal would tour him around his estate. And 300 meters from his house was a balete tree. So they would go there, clean the surroundings, and without the knowledge of the newcomer, Rizal would leave his bolo. And then when the bell would toll at 8 o'clock in the evening, Rizal would say, "Oy, I forgot my bolo. Could you please get it there?" So there's a very big difference between the terrain during daytime and in nighttime, especially at the time when these children still believe in the agta, in the aswang, the sigbin, and of course, there would also be snakes. You had to be very careful. So if the boy would be able to get the bolo, despite his fear, Rizal would congratulate him. Well, at least you overcame your fear. You are brave. And second, the same thing will be made if a newcomer comes. If one wants to be a student in his school, you will be among those who will follow him, create noises to make him afraid, and let's see if he can perform the task. So if he can perform the task, he would be accepted. If not, then Rizal would say the following day, I cannot accept another student because there are already several of them." So actually, there were 31 students. The test of that was that a man should be brave. Second, he should be able to keep secrets. And this is very important because the Katipunan was discovered just because of a slight bickering between Katipunan members who did not know how to keep secrets. So, murag na-abort, the Katipunan was discovered quite early. It was through accident. And then in their classes, the Rizal followed the Ateneo way. Instead of punishing students by whipping him, which was his experience in Binyan, Rizal, well, if that was a slow learner, he would stay at the back. While those who were fast learners always stayed in front and were also given prizes. So the giving of prizes would motivate the slow learners to learn more so that they would also earn prizes. And then English was taught because Rizal predicted that America would be coming to the Philippines. When he was in America, he found out that business was flourishing in a very fast pace and that America would be saturated with goods. So she had to look for a place where to sell these goods in order for the business to keep going. The aim of the school was to develop their character. Why? Because it was imperative that they would grow up to be responsible, citizens who were trustworthy, hardworking, and honest. So Rizal did not only think of the academics, but he also wanted to build up the character of his students. They would be so that they could be models in their communities. Marcial Borromeo was a successful businessman. Jose Asiñero became the governor of Zamboanga before its division into Zamboanga del Norte and Zamboanga del Sur. And then there were several who were in the farming occupation, but still were very good citizens in their respective communities. From Sabis Occidental, there were others from Laguna who were sent here. So when he developed their character, he also criticized the cowards, the dishonest people, and the servility of some. Several. Even today, there are several people who are servile in order just for them to get to the positions which they would want to be. So they had to make a little bit sip-sip, and this attitude was actually detested by Rizal. Another thing that he taught his students was the word impossible is not in his vocabulary. If there is a will, there is always a way. Another thing he also taught them, do not practice the mañana habit. What you can do today, then do it. Do not wait for tomorrow. So this was the experience of Marcial Borromeo, which became the, let's say, the principles that he followed throughout his life.
Daghang salamat, Professor Rex. So Rizal really had an initiation. Before you can become a student
Yes.
of Rizal, you need to prove that you are brave. It's just like an initiation, right? And of course, he had a reward system. The one who would, it's just like our trivia quiz today. You will have prizes if you will be able to answer. So we're so happy to know that this was done by Rizal already. How many years ago? So, Professor Rex, we have more questions for you in a while. So, especially regarding Rizal's life and work in Dapitan. But before that, we would now ask Professor Chua some questions. There are already questions from the audience. I don't know if this would be answered um, by our panelists. So there is a question and comment from PG Tollets and also from Carmen Gahudu Waltz regarding the memorabilia of Rizal. This would be taken up by Professor Xiao at the end part of the questions for him. And also, we also have a question regarding the offspring of Rizal. We know Rizal had ladies that connected to him. Does he have an offspring? From Alp Asa, from the tour guide in Cebu. And there is also a question regarding, we have Iza from Taguig City and Pateros Fe, Balanta Coleta, and also from Danny Margalio asking if Rizal went to America. So Professor Rex already said that Rizal went to America. Please share the period for most books that did not mention about Rizal's visit in America. So maybe Professor Rex can say something about this, about the visit of Rizal to America, or maybe Professor Xiao. May you say something about this, Professor Rex?
Okay, so when he was requested by Governor General Terrero to leave the Philippines, he actually took another route to Europe because the usual route was Manila, Singapore, and then there's Indian Ocean. Then you enter the Red Sea, exit at the Mediterranean. But now he took another route. From the Philippines, he went to Hong Kong, and then from Hong Kong to Japan, where he met 𝗍𝗍, and then after staying for, let's say, I think 2 months or a month in Japan, he crossed the Pacific Ocean and reached San Francisco. From San Francisco, he took the train all the way to New York. And when he took the train, he was able to observe so many things. And one of those things that he observed was that the business climate was going in a very fast pace. But you have to remember that there is demand because the people need the supply. But time will come when there will be an equilibrium. People won't buy anymore because they already have what they want. And that would mean a very bad thing to the American companies. So again, they had to go somewhere to sell their products. And Rizal accurately predicted that she would go to Asia. She would not go to Europe because Europe was far advanced than America. So America would go to Asia, and the weakest European colonial power in Asia was in the Philippines. It was Spain. So logically, she would go there. That is why Rizal, 5 years before the Americans came, already taught the English language to his students in Dapitan. And it was a very great surprise that when the Americans landed here in 1898, they found out that there were already students who could converse in English. And these were the students of Rizal. Of course, with Josephine around, they could practice their English more.
So, daghang salamat, Professor Rex. So, maybe we would answer the question, the panelists would answer later the question. If he had an offspring from all the ladies that he had relationships with all over the world, or maybe he was a master in birth control. so, 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 so now, thank you very much, Professor Rex. So now we would like to have Professor 𝐵𝗂. So because we went already to the Dapitan, we would now like to ask about Josephine Bracken's connection with Cebu. So, and this would be elaborated by Professor 𝐵𝗂.
Okay. So let me show the slide also. Ayan. So just taking off from Professor Hamoy's presentation, we have a picture here of Marshal Borromeo with the who is that person there? See the Jose Asiñero. They are both students of Rizal, no? In Dapitan. So this is the blackboard of Jose Rizal in Dapitan, in the Museum of Jose Rizal in Dapitan. I was with Professor Ambet, with whom I learned a lot about Rizal's stay in Dapitan here. So here are some illustrations about Rizal's stay in Dapitan with his students. No, there was actually an account by Marshal Borromeo about Rizal's prowess in sharpshooting. So i-quote ko lang ito, no? Ganda ito. Sabi niya, a sharpshooter, he walked as if he were measuring, according to Alburo, no? Based on the account of Borromeo. He walked as if he were measuring and counting his steps, with the right and left feet almost on the same line. And when called from behind, he would always execute an about face. So, mahilig siya sa duelo. Nagpa-practice siya sa duelo. And if you're going to look at how he was shot, that's also what he did, di ba? He had an about face. So, yeah. Anyway, he can also shoot his initials through, by using his gun. So, ganyan katindi yan. Now, of course, Rizal's life became more colorful when his dulce extranjera, sweet foreigner, Josephine Bracken, came. So, as we all know, he is son of a British or Irish person, but she was naulila, no? Namatay yung kanyang mga magulang, and so he was taken care of by yung ninong niya. Kasi as a ninong, as a godfather, you have to take care of the orphan kid. So ang nagpalaki na sa kanya si George Taufer. Now, of course, he went to Dapitan. They had a relationship. She was his last love, Rizal's last love. And she was with him when Rizal was in prison in Manila. No, I mean, hindi siya sumama sa kulungan, but she was in Manila at that time. And when she had the chance, visited him. On her very last visit to Rizal, Rizal just retracted, and of course, this controversy is very, very parang medyo controversial among historians. But we found a second primary source from one of the guards that Rizal signed the retraction, and they were actually married on the day of his execution. So, and the one evidence that, aside from the retraction document, would be a book that Rizal left Josephine. The book's title is 𝐵𝗵𝐿𝐼𝐵𝐿𝐼 𝐑𝐢𝐻, The Imitation of Christ, Thomas A. Kempis. And then he ascribed there, to my dear and unhappy wife, Josephine, December 30, 1896. Signed 𝗫𝗵𝐿𝐼𝐵𝐿𝐼 or something like that. So, if he did not become a Catholic, why would he give Imitations of Christ by Kempis to Josephine Bracken? So, and to say that, to declare that he is his wife. She is his wife, I mean. So, what did Josephine do after the revolution? He joined the family of Rizal to Cavite. Because the family of Rizal are Katipuneros. You have Pasiano Rizal, a general. Josefa Rizal is a women's chapter of the Katipunan president, and then Training Rizal. They went to Cavite to join the revolutionaries on the day of Rizal's execution. And when the Rizal family and Josephine handed Andres Bonifacio the last farewell of Jose Rizal, which Andres Bonifacio translated to Tagalog. Okay. So, she joined the revolutionaries, and then she actually held a gun and shot one Spaniard. So, she was a Katipunera. Okay? And she asked Andres Bonifacio to transform the 𝗫𝗄𝑇𝐻 Convention site, the 𝗫𝗄𝑇𝐻 Convent, into a hospital for the Katipunan. So Josephine Bracken was actually, Josephine Bracken was dubbed as the Florence Nightingale of the Philippines. Of course, nobody gets that because who the hell is Florence Nightingale to us? But why do you say that? Western lens. We must call Florence Nightingale the Josephine Bracken of America. Whatever that is. Now, of course, it is not a known secret. It is not. It's not really a secret that Rizal's family did not like her. And so, eventually, what happened was nagdemandahan sila, or they had a row about Rizal's books. Because Josephine claims that I am the wife of Rizal, and the family says, where is your marriage certificate? We cannot give. So, Josephine was actually interested in acquiring the books of Jose Rizal. But, the family is parang suspicious. Why do you want the books of Jose Rizal? Hindi ka naman mahilig magbasa. Mga ganun yung tingin sa kanya, no? Quite, no? So, what happened was, she married eventually a Cebuano in Hong Kong. Oo. Si Vicente Abad. And the funny thing is, what not so many people know, including myself, after only I've read si Ma'am Alburo, was that Josephine actually stayed here in Cebu. No? So, ano yung ginawa ni Josephine Bracken sa Cebu? No? As history said, naglabas siya ng, tawag doon, ng advertisement sa dyaryo. April 19, 1900. No? 𝗫𝗵𝗄𝑔. And that she is giving lessons in English and German. And her residence is near Plaza Rizal. This was in 1900. May Plaza Rizal na. And then somewhere there, Josephine Bracken, Rizal's last love and wife, is teaching English and German. No? The ad identifies her as Josephine Bracken 𝗫𝗵𝑇𝐻 Profesora de Lenguas. Oh? And just to read Dr. Alburo's text, no? Ang sabi niya, where is that? Ito. Sabi niya, ito, Josephine's brief stint as English tutor in both Manila and Cebu, where she taught the young 𝐤𝐸𝐻 𝐑𝐢𝐳𝐚𝐥 She taught the young 𝗤𝐵𝐴. Although biographer Vicente Albano passes doubts that he learned much from her. Kawawa naman si Josephine. Lagi na lang niyayari. Anyway, made it easier for Josephine to get a more stable job as public school teacher at the recommendation of Dr. 𝗫𝗵𝐵. But her ill health prevented her from working further. She had to go to Hong Kong to seek a cure. At namatay nga siya, si Josephine Bracken, sa Hong Kong noong March 15, 1902. So, tuberculosis po yung sakit, kung di ako nagkakamali. Yes, right. TB. And then after 1 year, Vicente Abad also died after 1 year of tuberculosis din. So, sayang, ano? Wala pang gamutan ng 6 months. No? And then, yung anak nila, si Dolores Bracken Viuda de Mina, lived for a long, long time. Wala siyang recollection ng magulang niya. Kasi 2 years old pa lang siya, namatay na yung tatay, saka namatay yung nanay. So, yun yung nangyari sa kanila. Yes.
Daghang salamat, Professor Xiao, for telling us about the retraction. And then there is already a question from Danny saying, meron ba talagang retraction sa Rizal? So Professor Xiao already said that there was a signed document. We still have to see it. And then,
well, yeah, we have a
so what did he retract? For those who don't know about this issue about the retraction, please tell us more about what did Rizal retract?
Well, remember that Rizal retracted, according to the document that he signed, authentic signature, kanya talaga, oh my God, that he was retracting the things that he said that are offensive to the Catholic Church and that he abjured Masonry. So I think for many people, that is the thing that a lot of people cannot accept, that he actually abjured Masonry. And a lot of people were speculating why Rizal did this. His convictions are already so strong, but the speculation is that he have to do it to legitimize Josephine. Remember that Josephine is, of course, rumored to be an illegitimate child of James Bracken, and Rizal, by marrying Josephine, would legitimize her. So people are saying that it's a love story. Rizal, despite his convictions, wanted to marry Josephine. Now, does that make Rizal less of a hero if he retracted? Definitely not. He already did what he did. He already had the things that he already had created the nation. So there's no need to, kumbaga, cancel him just because he retracted. Number one. Number two, Galileo Galilei, who espoused the heliocentric theory of the solar system, which is the Earth revolves around the sun, was sentenced by the Catholic Church because he believed so. Because the Catholic Church at that time believed that the Earth is the center of everything, and everything, including the sun, revolves around the Earth. And so they wanted to, the Inquisition at that time was so terrible. And so Galileo Galilei was convinced to retract. And so he retracted, but according to the story, while he was going down the Tower of Pisa in prison, he was saying repeatedly, but it revolves still, but it revolves still, but it revolves still. So whatever piece of paper that Rizal or Galileo Galilei signed, that doesn't cancel their contribution to humanity.
So why did Galileo Galilei retract? Did he retract because he was threatened to be killed?
Yeah, definitely.
And then Rizal retracted because he was threatened not to be able to marry Josephine Bracken.
Imagine what love can do. Of course, that's a speculation.
So anyway, there are so many questions about, of course, if TG Tollitz was asking again this question. Rizal went to Germany. Is Hitler Rizal's son?
No.
And then
Austrian si Hitler. Hitler is Austrian and not German. So no. Pareho lang sila ng hati ng buhok.
And then 𝐤𝗲𝘅 𝗫𝐿 Alinabon. So 𝗫𝐿 𝐤𝗲𝘅 ha, 𝗫𝐿 jud ka. So please share the relationship between Rizal and Blumentritt.
I think they met, there was a time that Rizal stayed with the Blumentritt in 𝗤𝗵𝐵𝐺, no? I don't know how many times he returned, but he wrote frequently. They wrote frequently, ano? And they even have a dream. Rizal called him my soulmate. Yeah, so parang but no. Don't mistake this. I think Rizal was more fatherly ang kanyang tingin kay Blumentritt. It's just that, please understand that in the 19th century, male bonding was okay. Kasi wala namang, people can say, can be affectionate with male friends because parang, ngayon kasi parang, may of course, Pride Month ngayon, may implication kapag ka nag-I love you ka sa lalaki mong kaibigan, ganun, parang,
Love knows no gender.
Kaya ngayon, noon hindi. So, but anyway, may wife si Blumentritt, so hindi sila, at alam ni wife ni Blumentritt ang relasyon nila ni Rizal bilang mag-ama. Although one sweet moment in the Rizal letters was that Rizal was dreaming of Blumentritt coming to the Philippines to live with him, with the family of Blumentritt. And atop a hill, they'll create a school, and they will have students, and that Rizal said, the name Rizal and Blumentritt will be known to everyone. Parang, ang sweet. No? My brother, ang kanyang salutation.
So thank you, Professor 𝐸, for sharing about the special and sweet relationship between Dr. Rizal and Blumentritt. Of course, who are we to judge?
Yes!
And,
Pope Francis, who are we to judge?
Yes, and then of course, it's Pride Month. So as we go back to Dapitan, no, not yet Dapitan, we would still discuss. We would like to Professor 𝐸 to discuss about how Cebuanos so loved Rizal. Before that, I would like to share with you this article made by our PAMGRAS communications staff in how many years ago regarding how Rizal described Cebu when he passed by Cebu City and when he went to San Nicolas after his exile on his way to his trial in Manila. So from Dapitan and Dumaguete, Rizal both arrived in Cebu in the morning of August 2, 1896. And that was 1896. So August in 1896. And this is how Rizal described Cebu. The entrance to Cebu is beautiful. We can see the whole district of San Nicolas, many brick roofs, church towers, and some small vessels. The ship anchored beside a pier near a garden of katuray, dapdap, and almond trees. Nearby, they told me, were the government houses, that of Mr. Ventura Veloso and others. And he also knew of the conflict between San Nicolas and the Spanish-led Cebu Ayuntamiento. And at the house of Attorney Matios, where we looked for him, we talked about San Nicolas, and it was said that San Nicolas had separated from Cebu and was not dependent on the Cebu Municipal Council. So he already knew about the politics in Cebu and even in San Nicolas. And surprisingly, nearly a year after he visited San Nicolas, according to Don Gregorio Abellana, they formed, the San Nicolasnons formed an organization against Spain. So, and on Rizal's birthday, on June 19, 1897, and he went to San Nicolas August 2, 1896. So and this is by Ara Quistadio, and also with references from Traizer Mansueto, Rizal's Impressions on the Visayas, published in the Cebu Daily News in 2013. So now we would like to ask Professor 𝐸 regarding how did Cebuano so love Jose Rizal that they demanded for his memorialization.
All right, let's show some pictures here. Ayan. So, Rizal, alam mo, there's always this seeming impression that the Cebuanos parang are not fond of the national because there's like Tagalog centric thing and all. But yeah, sometimes that manifests. But Miss A, when we talk about Rizal, it seems that it's so easy for the Cebuanos to identify with the nation when we talk about Rizal. So there's one monument that I like in Cebu. This is the oh, there we go. Wait a minute. Oh, there. Okay. So of course, when education was introduced in the Philippines, Cebu Normal University or Cebu Normal School was one of the schools where the teachers were trained in the South. And there's a monument to Rizal that the Cebuanos erected. And if you're going to look closely in this monument, if you're going to look closely in this monument, it resembles the monument of Abraham Lincoln. That is why it's quite unique in the country. So now, okay. Okay. Now, look at this. This is the monument to Jose Rizal at our City Hall. See? I suppose this was created before the war happened, when the monuments to Rizal were proliferated around the country. To actually, the Americans were saying that you should emulate Rizal because he was for education and so forth. And the public school education was the centerpiece of American regime. And that's why you see Rizal here. It used to be in front of the City Hall, but they transferred it at the side of the mayor's office. And so it's still there. And if you look at it, there, he was sitting on the table writing. So Rizal is actually shown in various parts. So he was shown as sitting. Here he's shown on a table writing, studying or writing, expressing himself. So now the city monument to Jose Rizal, I think, Orland, this is where you put the flowers every commemoration, right? That's the city government of Cebu. And Orland here is shown in the pictures fixing the monument, restoring it. So ano pala ang ginawa pala dito, ano to, parang pinalitadahan or what, o pininturahan. And so nabaon yung original na itsura. So nire-restore nila tapos pupinturahan na lang ulit. But look how thick the paint that they were able to apply there. And then eventually, of course, they were able to fix that in time for the commemoration last year or 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Now, we all know the story of Teodora Alonso and how she told the young Rizal about the story of the moth and the flame. Now, I'll just make it shortcut because I want to give a very important point here about the lesson of Rizal's life. The moth wanted to go to the flame and was attracted to it, but the mother said, wag kang lumapit dyan, mamamatay ka. But of course, we all know that he went to the flame, straight to it, and just burned. And for a lot of people were thinking, what was the lesson that the mother of Rizal wanted to impart to Rizal? And what I was thinking was, probably Rizal's mother was talking about the flame in terms of this is the symbol of education. If you're going to look for education and be as educated as you want to be, and be more intelligent than our colonizers, then you're going to be like Padre Burgos. 7 degrees, 2 of them doctorates. And so what happened was they died. And so for me, the message of Rizal's mother was this. Rizal was actually the foolish moth. He was the one who did not follow his mother's bilid. So he went straight to the flame. He got himself educated, and he died in the process. Why? Because so that all of the other Filipinos after him would seek the flame will not have to die because we are already free. Rizal already gave the ultimate sacrifice for education in the Philippines. And so I think the Cebuanos appreciated this. Padre Burgos, before he died, even said, get educated, learn from our older men what they know, see in the museums of other lands what the ancient Filipinos really were. Be a Filipino always, but an educated Filipino. Now, we don't have to go to the foreign lands to get our history because the colonizers got our history. You can go to Palmgras and know our history. You can go to the museums in Cebu to know our history. And later on, you will know a lot other things about Rizal memorabilia that are in Cebu. You will know about Rizal. Here in Cebu, you don't have to go to Manila. You don't have to go to 𝗵𝗂𝘅, but we'll go there later. Now, my last item for this question is the Rizal Public Library. Now, in the 1930s, a group of people called mga katukayo ni Rizal or mga tukayo ni Rizal, meaning these are people in Cebu who are named Jose, like Rizal, banded together and formed a group. So, in the 1930s, they formed a group called, they're like Jose people and mga tukayo ni Rizal, and they said, let's raise money to create a monument for Rizal. Now, the librarian of Cebu said, wait, isn't it more useful to just create a whole building for Rizal and make it the library? And so, of course, the Tocayos de Rizal agreed. So, this is what happened. They were able to construct a place, 𝐤𝐵𝐵𝐺, you know, the one who we know just the real father, who's the father of this guy is. 𝐤𝐵𝐵𝐺 donated the piece of land near the Capitol building for this endeavor. And 𝐤𝐵𝐵𝐺 is close to one of the architects in Manila that created all the beautiful buildings there, the post office, the National Museum of the Legislature, Juan Marcos Arellano. Okay? And Juan Marcos Arellano was the one who designed the Capitol building of Cebu. And of course, eventually, look at how thin I am there. 𝐥𝐸 loves Cebu and he is thin. Okay. And so, Arellano also created the building and it was finished before the war. And you see there's a statue of Jose Rizal with the two kids, they're reading a book. So here you see all sorts of statues of Rizal doing a lot of things. So, what is in there? There's a plaque there which read why this building was constructed to the memory of the most outstanding Filipino educator, patriot and martyr, Dr. Jose Rizal. Conscious of the importance of education, the people of Cebu voluntarily contributed to the construction of this memorial. These are people's money. They make 𝗵𝗂𝘅 to create this memorial. The contribution came from net proceeds of the literary musical programs and carnival expositions periodical held since 1919 in celebration of Rizal Days. And then, of course, there's the committee. Jose Nolasco, councilor, was the one who led it. And he was the head of the Cebu Carnival, which is the equivalent of the Manila Carnival. So that is the history there. You can read it. In 1939, it was inaugurated and christened Rizal Memorial Library. So the building is still there. It's now occupied by the library and also by the City Museum of Cebu, which the 𝐴𝐸, the Culture and Heritage, Culture and Historical Affairs Office, thank you, Ms. A, office is located where you can find other Rizal materials. There's a painting there which is partnered with Andres Bonifacio. I don't know who did it, but is it still there, Orland, on storage, ano? Naka-storage. And then you have here the winner of one of the contests that was held 2 years ago, the Rizal Painting Contest. Look how beautiful it is. Buhay na buhay. Oh, Mrs. Rizal, I think 16 years old. And it's from Rodriguez Rizal because the Cebuanos accepted entries from other parts of the province. So that is just the few of the ways that the Cebuanos memorialize its favorite hero, even if he is not a Cebuano.
Dahil salamat, Professor 𝐥𝐸. There is one more question for you related also to the questions from our audience. So, but before that, I would like to share with you that at Pangras's the Cebu Heritage Hotel, Basahanan, we have these books that mention Rizal, especially his contribution to the struggle for nationhood. And also, so we have The Brains of the Nation. This is actually about 3 personalities. This is written by Dr. Rizal Mujarez. two people here, Pedro Paterno, 𝗵𝗵𝘂 𝗵𝗵𝘅 were members of the propaganda, joined the propaganda movement of Rizal. 𝗵𝗵𝘂 𝗑𝐿 is also mentioned here. So this is Brains of the Nation. You will find out more also of the influence of Rizal on these men who are called by Dr. Rizal Mujares as brains of the nation.
Brains.
And of course, here at Pangras, we also have this book, Katipunan, the original, the Katipunan documents, The
Right.
Light of Liberty. This is also a reference of Dr. Rizal Mujares in one of his talks here at Pangras, the Cebu Heritage Hotel. This is by Jim Richardson, The Light of Liberty. So, and also, aside from this book, we have also this book which discusses about the elite and the
Right.
ilustrados in Philippine culture. And it mentions about the controversy between the masses, or the contradiction between the masses and the elite. So, but of course, we know that in Cebu, or of course, the revolution in 1896, the national revolution in 1896 was actually Ilustrado-led or elite-led, even in Cebu. But
Right.
then, it wouldn't be successful without the support
Of the
of the
people.
masses,
Yes.
of the broad masses like the farmers, and of course, the emerging working class at that time. So now we would like to there is a question here. I don't know if this forum can answer this. We said Rizal loves Cebu, and Cebu loves Rizal. And then the question from a historian from I don't know if this is a he or a she, Las Piñas historian. The question is, paano magmahal ang mga taga Cebu?
Nak-
At paano makukuha ang puso ng isang Cebuano?
Miss A, Miss A.
Is the forum now, can the forum now answer this? If you would ask the pre-colonial Visayans as Cebuanos, you should go back to our forum in February 14 this year. It mentions about iyot, the the sex lives of, we also have the power of women in bed and politics 500 years ago. That's
Right.
February 14, also a year ago. So if you would ask the pre-colonial Visayans, of course you need to be a 𝗂𝗄𝐬. If you ask the Visayan women, you need to be a 𝗂𝗄𝐬. You know what is a 𝗂𝗄𝐬? A warship.
Yes. So
So for the pre-colonial Cebuanas, we don't know now. Maybe we can ask our guest here, the Cebuanos. Now, maybe this would be part of the open forum. You can give your opinion on what gets your heart. Unsa kuno, how to win your heart as a Cebuano. Aren't we just the same as the rest of the people in the Philippines? So
𝗵𝗵𝘂 had a song before.
yes.
The song was trying to ask the question, ano ba ang halik sa Bisaya? And then the answer is lami pud.
Lami gyud.
Lami pud.
Unsa ang halok? Unsa ang what so that Professor Shah was saying that there is a folk or
A song
a
by
song
𝗵𝗵𝘂.
that asks, I think 𝗵𝗵𝘂 is from Davao.
Yes.
So
Bisaya.
what is kiss? What
Yeah.
is a kiss in Bisaya? So a kiss in Bisaya is lami.
Lami.
So it's lami. O sa kung sa Tagalog, masarap. Masarap. Lami gyud. But literally, it's kiss is halok. Halok.
Halok.
Halok.
So masarap daw ang halik sa Bisaya.
So Nadine Chu says, "Hi Sir Chua, my professor."
I would like to greet all my students from LaSalle who are watching this video, and thank you for watching and for your comments.
So now we would like to ask my last question, but you have more questions for Professor Xiao. So we have this question for Professor Xiao regarding the Rizaliana materials that are found in Cebu City. Please
Right.
elaborate about this and why these are here. And then there is also from, I think from Carmen, who said that about USP, University of
Southern Philippines.
Philippines Museum, Rizaliana Museum.
Right. So let me show you some slides here. Well, there's a disclosure. I haven't been here in this museum, but I've looked at materials in the internet. When we go to this museum, it's always closed. So maybe the people from Chow will bring me there on Monday, on Rizal's birthday, and maybe it's open already. But let's look at the patikim. Okay? So we have here the Rizal Museum at the University of Southern Philippines. And why? Why do they have a lot of items about Rizal? Now, I think this is the largest collection of Rizal items outside Manila or outside the Tagalog region. Because there are materials in the Lopez Museum, there are materials with the NHCP clothing, everything, furniture, but in the Visayas, you have USP. So, University of Southern Philippines, why? Because the grandchild of, I think it was 𝗵𝗵𝘂𝐵𝐺𝐸, Maria. That's right, Maria of Narcisa. One of the Rizal sisters who was married to a 𝗵𝗵𝘂𝐵𝐺𝐸, the grandchild of that married the owners of the USP. Or married into the family of the owners of the USP. So eventually, they donated the items that Rizal actually wore, like his shirt. So yung shirt, yung undershirt, di ba? You just put a tie there and you have a coat. Yan yung suot-suot niya sa ilalim. No? So yan, Rizal's white shirt for evening wear with collar. And then you have yung overcoat na usually nakikita natin sa pictures niya. Di ba? So there you go. You have his socks too. So kung gusto niyong amuyin yung amuyin ng pa ni Rizal, no? Baka pwede niyong amuyin, pero matagal na yon. So, but if you're going to look at it, ganito pala yung itsura ng mga socks and they're cute. Then you have here, original sketchbook of Dr. Jose Rizal with Josephine Bracken as model. So, it's all there with a very important item. A lot of people mistake this as the Katipunan flag or a Katipunan flag, which is a misnomer. This is not a Katipunan flag. This is the flag of the veteranos de la Revolucion. Mga labi ng Katipunan, nakalagay doon. Remnants of the Katipunan. Now, I delivered this lecture before with Chow, but there's something new that I'm going to tell you about today. Another museum where there is Rizal memorabilia. Now, you see the Cebu, di ba? May mountain. Saan yung mountain? Dito. Di ba? Now, you have a mountain there, pero sa likod pa ng mountain na yon, which is still part of Cebu City, by the way, ganun kalaki ang Cebu City, there's a compound, a complex, 𝗵𝗵𝘂𝐿, which is owned by the Director General of the Foreign Service Institute, Ambassador Jose Maria Carino, who I think nakapangasawa siya na Cebuana. So, may residence siya dito, and then he is also, so he created the Museo Carino. He is a Carino, Ambassador Carino. Ang family niya is related to the Carinos who are relatives of 𝗵𝗵𝘂𝐵𝐴 Museo Carino in the north, ay din yun, doon sa isang branch ng family nila. Now, ang Museo Carino is still not open to the public. You can have an appointment with him. And if you're going to look at the view, ito po yung view from the Museo Carino. At may mga malalaking bato silang nahanap doon. And meron siya collection ng vintage cars. So, masaya dyan. If you're going to look at the Cebu City, nandun siya, you can see the Cebu City there from the background. And you can see other places like Bohol and other places. Now, Ambassador 𝗥𝗲𝐬𝐞 created a book called 𝗥𝗲𝐃 𝐑𝐢𝐳𝐸̗. Medyo meron na siya, hindi siya masyadong nakikita, nahanap. But it tackles Rizal's career as a sculptor. Now, including this bust, na hindi niya ito pagmamayari, no? Pero he was able to identify that Rizal did this in Dapitan and gave it as a gift to one of his students. Tapos, natapadpad ng Laguna yung yung bus na to. Now, what Mr. Carino did, Ambassador Carino did, was he was able to get the services of a sculptor in Paite, Laguna called Luis 𝗥𝗥. And what he did was, meron siyang, joke, meron siyang, anong tawag doon? Yung pinare-create niya yung mga works ni Rizal. So for example, Prometheus bound in wood. Luis 𝗥𝗥 is a sculptor in wood. So ayan po yung Prometheus bound. So inano niya, nire-imagine ni Luis 𝗥𝗥. This is, I think, St. Anthony of Padua. So the collection is there at the Museo Carino in Cebu. This is Ricardo Carnicero in Dapitan. So this is Luis 𝗥𝗥's reimagination. You have Orates Fratres by, Fray Brethren. Ayan. And may cigar pipe si Rizal na ginawa na ni-recreate din ni 𝗥𝗥 for the museo. Now, look at this picture. Supposedly, this is Jose Rizal. Now, it doesn't look like any of the pictures we have seen. Is it real? Is it really Rizal? Sino itong taong ito? Now, apparently, it's Rizal. Because naging kaibigan ni Ambassador Carino yung mga kamag-anak ng bodyguard ni Jose Rizal na si Jose 𝗵𝐵𝐿 de Andrade, the brother of the last lawyer of Jose Rizal, Luis 𝗵𝐵𝐿 de Andrade. And this picture was dedicated to Jose 𝗵𝐵𝐿 de Andrade. This is all featured in the book, Rizal Sculptor. So I'm not giving anything away na hindi dapat ibigay. There are original calling cards by Rizal in this collection. There are items like an original La Solidaridad where Rizal wrote, and a signed copy of the Morga given to Jose 𝗵𝐵𝐿 de Andrade. Or Luis 𝗵𝐵𝐿. No, Jose 𝗵𝐵𝐿 de Andrade. Now, what happened was, apparently Jose 𝗵𝐵𝐿 de Andrade was also a very talented painter. Yung bodyguard ni Rizal, So, in this collection, you have paintings by Jose 𝗵𝐵𝐿 de Andrade. Remember this. What I'm telling you is this. I'm not telling you everything that I saw there in that Museo Carino, but it's going to be the National Museum of Cebu. It's going to rival because of the artworks that are there. So, you have here works by Felix Resurrection Hidalgo, which is a contemporary of Rizal, in that museum. And some of the best works of Juan Luna. This is a Juan Luna painting that is not known to a lot of people. It's The Girl with the Emerald Ring by Juan Luna. And as you see, the brushstrokes are really Juan Luna. Of course, this is not with the Museo Carino. This is the Parisian life in the 𝐥𝐨𝐸 collection, now in the National Museum. You can see the girl there with Jose Rizal, Juan Luna, and Ariston Bautista Lin. Now, this is eerie. Look closely the girl. Look closely the three people there. And apparently, Juan Luna created another version, which is not known to a lot of people. Interior of a Paris cafe. You see there, the girl is with a group of people, but the same clothing as the one who was alone. And yung nakahat doon, second na figure from left, you can see that is a self-portrait of Juan Luna. Sayang hindi ko lang mailapit, but that is Juan Luna there. So, you can see there na may connection, yung work na Parisian Life, with this work, Interior of a Paris Cafe, now at the Museo 𝐤𝐵𝐺𝐬𝐞 in Cebu City. So, Museo 𝐤𝐵𝐺𝐬𝐞 will open soon by appointment with Ambassador 𝐤𝐵𝐺𝐬𝐞 kasi magre-retire na si Ambassador 𝐤𝐵𝐵𝐺𝐬𝐞. So, he would stay. He always goes here in Cebu every week just to maintain the museum. And, eto pa. Do you know that Luna was listed, Juan Luna is listed not as a painter, but as a sculptor in an international dictionary called the 𝗵𝗵𝐵𝐺𝐸𝐺 Dictionary. Now, we do not know any sculptural works of Juan Luna until this one. This is Juan Luna's sculpture, Naughty Luling. Si Luling, binutasan yung yung tambourine, and then nagpakita siya ng mukha niya doon. So this is Juan Luna's sculpture. It was signed by Luna there. And supposedly, of course, purportedly. And it tells us that there are Rizal memorabilia and memorabilia of contemporaries of Rizal here in Cebu, making it a very important place for all of us. But I think, Miss A, the most important memorabilia and monument to Jose Rizal should be the Cebuanos. So I hope that everyone continues to play a role and make make Rizal alive in the things that we do as Cebuanos and as Filipinos.
Salamat, Professor Xiao. So there is a question at the National Quincentennial Committee page regarding how to avail of the signed copy of the book. So please send a message to the 𝗵𝗃𝐺 the Cebu Heritage Hotel Facebook page account, and to avail of the signed copy. Both, they have two authors.
Andres Bonifacio.
By 𝐵𝗂𝐞 about Bayani biographies, and John Ray Ramos and Michael 𝐶𝗫. All the books here are signed by Professor Xiao. So we have more questions from the audience, but before that, we would like to go back to Dapitan for last two questions about the impact of Rizal in Dapitan. So we will have Professor Rex Hamoy to tell us about, to summarize the impact of Rizal in Dapitan. And maybe you could answer here the question, when the Dapitanons were so close to the Spanish colonizers, did it change when Rizal arrived in Dapitan, or is still the same?
Well, to answer the question first, before we go into the impact of Rizal. Actually, Rizal did not speak of anything political while he was in Dapitan. So even when he went up the Ilihan Hill, the fortification, the picture of which you showed earlier, which is actually at the back of our house, history notes it as a military building, but Rizal simply said that it was just a barn. He did not describe anything that would be construed of as something political. So as to whether the Dapitanons changed their idea about the Spanish colonizers because they set Rizal here, nothing. Rizal did not give them any idea which could lead them to think twice about the Spanish colonizers. So Rizal even showed cooperation with the politico-military commander who was here, which in fact was the reason why the first politico-military commander was relieved of his post, because he got so close to Rizal. So Carnicero was replaced by somebody, but all the while until the end of Rizal's exile, he was in good terms with the Spaniards. So it was actually, he had a brush off with the Chinese, however. So as to the impact of Rizal, he became the role model. First, basically, he taught the people to be more refined. It's not to say that they did not know social graces, but Rizal fine-tuned it. For example, when he was walking on the street, he was always the first one to greet the people. Not by name, but by using señor or señora, no matter how lowly their status was in the community. So people got curious and asked him, "You are supposed to be the one who who is most educated here. So the people would defer to you and greet you first. Rizal said, no, it is up to the more educated to show the example. So later on, people became more refined. They greeted each other. So it became a way of life in the Dapitan. And then he was also an active civic leader. He was there in the small affairs of the town. He was the town doctor. There was no doctor at the time. There was only a practicante who was Borromeo, and Rizal became the doctor in town. If you go to the plaza and look at the monument of Rizal, you will tend to, let's say, realize that it is only here in the Dapitan that Rizal is being portrayed as a doctor. If you go to the Rizal Monument in the Dapitan, you see Rizal there, not writing, not reading, but Rizal standing carrying a medical bag. Because that was whom he was in the Dapitan. They remember him as a doctor. While he was an ophthalmologist, he actually embarked on general practice, treating all sorts of cases, all sorts of cases that were brought to him. As a matter of fact, there are even records that he also ventured into dentistry, because in one of his letters, he asked for a book on dentistry. And then he was a businessman because he found out that the local farmers were cheated by the Chinese. The Chinese would buy it at their products at a very low price and then forward it to Manila and make a big profit. And then Rizal said, these poor people here are taken advantage by the Chinese. So he established the cooperative using his brother-in-law in Manila as the agent. So with that, the farmers were able to, let's say, get good prices for their commodities. And then when the government constructed the water system of the Dapitan, which is still mistakenly attributed to Rizal until today, it was actually a government project. Rizal offered his services as surveyor because, as we know, Rizal was an expert and a licensed surveyor. He had a license in surveying. So he helped in looking for the terrain where to install these clay pipes which would serve as conduit to the water. And then, yes, even after his death, the name of Rizal still became, let's say, was exploited by the people of the Dapitan to get what they wanted. First, the creation of the Dapitan City. In 1963, the Dapitan City only had an income of 40,000 a year. And then they wanted to create it, convert into a city, but it was impossible. So using 𝗫𝗏𝗏 as a model, they made the Dapitan a city, not because it was qualified, but because it was the place of Rizal's exile, because of the historical value. We have the hospital here, which was the first hospital in Zamboanga del Norte. It was not supposed to be constructed in the Dapitan because it was quite difficult for the patients to cross the Dapitan River, because at the time there was no bridge yet. But it was established in the Dapitan because Rizal was a doctor in the Dapitan. And according to Doña Trining, his sister, if the people in the Dapitan want the hospital as a memorial for her brother, then they are not to be blamed. Blame the Spaniards for exiling Rizal in the Dapitan. And then our state college, the Dapitan is quite, it's quite different from the Dipolog. The Dipolog is more progressive, but the main campus of the Jose Rizal Memorial State University was placed in the Dapitan, not for any reason except that Rizal was also a teacher in the Dapitan. And perhaps in the future, when the Dapitanans want something, they would again invoke the name of Rizal. So he's still very much alive.
Daghang salamat, Professor Rex. So the last question. So of course, we would know more about the works of Rizal if you go to the Dapitan, the shrine, the Museum of Rizal in the Dapitan, the Rizal Shrine. And of course, I would always read that the work of Rizal in the Dapitan is very important because it is where he actually, because he had the propaganda movement in Europe, in Spain. It was when he came to the Dapitan, it was where he implemented his
Yes.
thoughts of how to organize a community and to have to develop a community. So Now, Professor Rex, the last question for you. So after this is the reaction from our teacher from the University of San Carlos Department of History, and also from the Political Science Department, a student from the a member or a representative of the Political Science Society of the Carolinian Political Science Society. After this, so Professor Rex, for you, but you are no longer a youth or you're still young at heart. Now, we would like to ask you, why should the youth of today know about the life and works of Rizal?
Well, it's because results can still serve as an example today. Well, we know about Rizal's love of country. It has been repeated all over and over again. No? But recently, no, we can reflect on the COVID situation. Well, everybody knows that when the lockdowns were immediately implemented in every LGU, it also turned our lives upside down. All of a sudden, students didn't have the routine of students was changed. No, instead of going to school, they stayed at home. Businessmen, just the same. All of us suffered. All of us had a complete turnaround when lockdowns were implemented. So it changed the routine of our daily lives. I even know of some students who had some, let's say, emotional issues because they could no longer be with their friends. They could not do anything. And then coupled with the requirements of school, some of them really cracked up. Well, we can also, let's say, compare this situation to the situation of Rizal. He was a man who was accustomed to the big cities. He was born in Manila, born in Calamba, raised in Manila, went to big cities abroad, and immediately Dapitan, which had nothing to offer. It did not even have a library. But instead of cracking up, Rizal found ways in order to help himself combat depression. So what the youth can learn is that even in the most unfortunate things, if we look for ways to make ourselves useful, then our lives could still go on. And then another thing, Rizal renounced violence. In all his works, he gave more emphasis on education in order to change the country. While he wrote the 𝗫𝗶𝘅 with Simone as the main character who advocated for change using violent means, we must always remember that in the end of the book, Simone died. All his plans failed. And then in his dialogue with Padre Florentino, he asked, why did all these plans fail? And then Padre Florentino told him, because you chose a method which the Almighty does not approve of. So it shows to you that Rizal still believed in the Almighty. He was not an atheist. And I can only connect this to the 𝗤𝗏𝘅, what happened during the past administration. I hope I'm not going political here, but sometimes if we want change, we have to use the methods which are acceptable to society. And Rizal, if anybody would just read the 𝗫𝗶𝘅, they would know that Rizal gives us a prescription on how change should be implemented. It must be through peaceful means, and reform must come from above so that the people below would follow what the people above are doing. And that through the 𝗏𝐵𝐵𝐿𝐵, he also emphasized the importance of having a good education as a requisite for social progress. So he advised his nephews, his nieces to always study, open their minds, because in this field, there is no greater weapon than your brain. So you have to constantly study. That is why if we care to read about Rizal, we take into account his advice. Even if this advice were given more than 100 years ago, we could still find relevance, because society today is practically the same as the society of Rizal. If we had the Spaniards who abused the Filipinos, it is sad to say that fellow Filipinos today are taking advantage of the rest. So we still have the same setup of society, except that the Spaniards are no longer there. And this situation makes Rizal's advice relevant even until today. So all we have to do is to read Rizal's work, analyze it, and see what can be applied in order for us to march to a better kind of society. Well, the youth, it's up for us, the youth, because he placed so much emphasis on the youth, because we are the hope of the future. And there is also another saying which says, uh, every generation is answerable to the next. So if we do not do anything,
Yes. Daghang salamat, Professor Rex, for answering that question. So we have a problem with his audio right now. So that was the last question for him. But maybe during the open forum, there will be more questions. There is a question from 𝗫𝗶𝘂 from Taguig City and Pateros, DepEd Taguig City and Pateros. He repeated his question regarding if Leon Quilat, our hero in Cebu in the Visayas, was influenced by the writing of Jose Rizal for the struggle for emancipation. Of course, we already said um, Leon Quilat was a member of the Katipunan. He was a Katipunan general. And the Katipuneros, the Katipunan were inspired by the writings of Rizal. And even their passwords would mention Rizal. And so we would know from Professor 𝐤𝐸𝐶 that the brother and sisters of Rizal joined the Katipunan, and even the wife of Rizal, Josephine Bracken. Even if Rizal did not join the Katipunan himself, his family and even his wife joined the Katipunan. You would see also, you would know the stories of how Josephine Bracken sacrificed her life in the struggle against the Spaniards, even hiking up for how many kilometers, and also treating those wounded Katipuneros. So your mother, Vilma Briones Chua, is sending a very big heart, still watching from Tarlac City. And so we would now, actually we will show the last episode, not now, but after the trivia quiz with exciting prizes. You would see there also Don't Give Up on Us Baby. It's I Love You So Bad, the third episode. With even it would portray the struggles in Talisay in 1500s, and also how they saw the struggle of our ancestors, how it led to the revolution, to the victory of the revolution in 1898 in Cebu. So now we would like to have our reactor from from the department. We have our from the University of San Carlos, from the Department of History, Anthropology and Sociology of University of San Carlos. He is the representative of the department to give the reaction. From We have a teacher from the University of San Carlos Department of History, 𝗤𝗏𝘅 𝗛𝗵𝐵𝑖𝑎. Yes.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Professor Chua. I think we met when there was this conference in Manila about how to teach Rizal, and you were our tour guide. So if you're guided here, you guided us there. So thank you for that. Thank you for that, Miss A. I'd like to imitate the way Professor Chua addresses you. Okay, so I've been tasked with the reaction. So I think there's really little to react. I mean, I could only corroborate what Professor Chua and Professor Hamoy has shared with us. Definitely, for example, the first question regarding Rizal's importance on a pragmatic level, it's given me a job for
Yes.
for something. I think Professor Chua shares that pragmatism for the most part. I have been teaching the Rizal course for something like 20 years, ever since I started teaching. So it's given a job, so it's on a pragmatic level. At the same time, of course, you have the contributions that Rizal made. For example, one of the great controversies associated with Rizal was his extraction. Of course, Professor Chu has asserted the document. I have yet to. This is the first time I've heard of it, sir. So probably it will be very interesting going over that account by that second prison guard, something, the prison guard. So of course, one of the great controversies associated with his extraction is, does it diminish him? Because usually, for example, has been speculated on why the Spanish government Spanish government insisted in extraction was probably to diminish the influence of his works. You kill the influence, you kill the integrity of the author, then you diminish his work and therefore the influence of the works. But of course, as mentioned by Professor Chua, it doesn't really change anything. He has done what he has done. His life's work is completed, and whether it be tainted by a retraction is really unimportant for the most part. So anyway, so of course, the importance with Rizal, considering he's about to celebrate his 162nd birthday on June 19, is measurable, as mentioned by Professor Chua. For example, the idea of Rizal did help create. I'm not going to ascribe the making of the nation totally to him. It was a collective effort. Rizal had his ideas. Probably he is most prominent because he's the national hero. His ideas are often read. But it's in the book, in the Brains of the Nation, for example. Okay, in the book, for example, you have Paterno, although Rizal calls Paterno actually not a very nice term, using the scroll to describe Paterno as a warning people mean don't believe anything that Senor Paterno says, something like that. I'm not making this up. It's in the account of Schumacher, the one who wrote the propaganda movement. The Brains of the Nation talks about the contributions of the other Ilustrados. So in a sense, it's a collective effort. Although Rizal probably garners a central role because he is the national hero. So the making of the nation is a collective effort, but definitely Rizal is at the forefront of it, especially considering his most dramatic death for the most part. His most dramatic, although he did not choose it, but probably he knew it was coming, and so he made the most out of it. I would guess he made the most out of it. I would guess the turn, and anything. So I guess it's only right to valorize Rizal, to celebrate his birthday, even 100 years from now, perhaps, because without it, there is no Filipino. Although he himself was probably at the early stages of his career was quite conflicted of who was Filipino. He was conflicted. What was Filipino? Who was Filipino? And who deserves to be called Filipino. But in the end, of course, he could not answer it. We are left with the task of finalizing the answer. Thank you.
Maraming salamat for the beautiful insights. Beautiful according to Professor Chow. Very wonderful insights from our teacher who teaches Rizal for so many years. So now we are going to hear the voice of the youth. So we are from the Carolinian Political Science Society. We have 𝐤𝐶 Ligas.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Professor Chua and Professor Hamoy. It is actually a privilege to meet you in person because I've been following your Facebook and Twitter. As for me, I think I could say na history is really rich and there's so much to discover because I think I'd be guilty in saying that um Cebu is actually filled with different historical books and museums, but I have not actually looked into them. And yeah, patay ako. But this actually given me an opportunity to discover different books that I should be reading. And I think history, as a political science student, history is actually really connected with political science. And aside from that, while there is a contention regarding the retraction of Jose Rizal, I think he actually made or invoked emotions and awareness building, which led to tangible efforts and collective action in terms of different strategies and tactics in actually fighting freedom from different systemic problems. Like for example, as what was mentioned din earlier, na while he did not really want revolution, yung mga people around him were actually inspired. And I think this also goes to show na aside from that, there was a mention earlier na even if like the Katipunan was not really like in, even if Katipunan did not exist way back then, there is still an action from Cebu in terms of um wanting to break away the curse of um being tied to Spanish colonial government. And I think this goes to show how collective action is also really important, because while Jose Rizal was able to instill awareness building, such effort was further elaborated because of such collective action. And aside from that, I think I also love the fact na after elections, as what was mentioned earlier by Professor Chua, which is personally I was really devastated by results. But this was further talked about. Yung mga systemic problems that we face was talked about in different literature. Like for example, Jose Rizal's No 𝗵𝗵𝐺 and 𝗵𝗵𝑀 were further appreciated. Kasi usually before, from my experience, usually students would usually just tend to overlook such. But if you like, since it was actually made easily digestible through TV, for example, ayun, mas nakikita nila yung importance at halaga ng literature na ganon. It actually created different discussions, and I think I can really say na Jose Rizal was also really intelligent in terms of making people realize different things in a manner na mas, kasi the tendency is if you read something that's not um that's not easily understandable, or hindi masyadong like for example, those who are not really fond of reading, but he actually was able to create essays, poetry, which I think for me mas nakaka invoke ng emotions. And then lastly, and I think I also really love the fact na I think it was both Professor Chua and Professor Hamoy that mentioned about the intellect. It is the generation is accountable to the next. So I think as a student, kasi to be honest, not everyone actually has the same opportunities or educational opportunities for us to learn. For example, we learn different things in school, but not everyone has the same opportunities. So I think it also is a responsibility or a calling for the youth to actually make what we learn easily digestible, and to actually engage as well with not just with fellow youth, but also with people from different ages, people from the yung mga hindi pumupunta sa school, because once again it goes back na collective action is really important in instilling change. And while it somehow seems hopeless, hindi naman nawalan ng pag-asa yung mga ancestors natin. So we also owe it to them to continuously fight for independence from different systemic problems. Ayun. Thank you.
Daghang salamat to the sharing, the very wonderful sharing, very articulate Tricia from the Carolinian Political Science Society. Your teachers and classmates are very proud of you, of how you articulated your insights about our discussion this afternoon or gabi na.
A bit to what she said, it's very important that you stress that we should not be hopeless about the situation of our country. Kasi, Rizal wouldn't have given his life if he was hopeless. He gave his life exactly because he was hopeful. Diba? So, that's why, wag tayong susuko doon sa hope in ourselves so that we can continue Rizal's work. Thank you. Nakakatuwa yung reactions ng ating professor at nung kabataan natin. Nakakatuwa. Salamat po. And the emphasis too, nation building, yes, no? We are talking about Rizal. That's why we're emphasizing Rizal's role in nation building. But as you know, I'm actually more of even if I'm Knights of Rizal, non omnis moriar, I'm actually a Bonifacio person. Oh, kaya nga sinulat ko yung libro eh. But this is like not just Bonifacio, but a collective effort, and that's why it's good to emphasize Leon Quilat, and not just Leon Quilat, Gibelondo, di ba? And all the others who are not just from Manila, but as a national revolution. The nation was not just created by the Manileños, by the Tagalogs, di ba? And this is what it's good to emphasize in this kind of forum, the collective effort of the whole of us. And that's why it's good. Miss A, please allow me to share this. There's an impression before that the Cebuanos are like they are not they're not really what they call this. They do not want to converge with historians from Manila. And that's why when I was invited by Chao before, are you sure? How can I cannot teach the Cebuanos their history. No, but you just share your views about it. We don't have to teach anything. We don't have to show anything. That we're really talking. No, we come here. We are able to listen to the inputs of people here, and that we are able to really create a more national history, which is not just Manila. We now are able to include the Iloilo narrative and the Cebuano narrative because of your efforts. If not for the efforts of the people here, that we have now, I think this is because of the quincentennial, the 2021 commemorations, that we are able to have more cooperation with the National Historical Commission of the Philippines, and that we are all here. I think the NQC, the quincentennial brought us all here together, and that the national conversation continues. This is the spirit of Lapu-Lapu with us, that we should all continue to talk about our nation.
Nice, salamat, Professor Xiao. Brilliantly said, as always. So we have this trivia quiz with exciting prizes. So we have the first question for those on site, and the second question is the question for those online only, who are not here. And the third question is for everyone on site and online, but you all answer through the comment section of this Facebook page. But of 𝗵𝗃𝐺, the Cebu Heritage Hotel. I am looking at 2 pages, the National Quincentennial Committee, and because these 2 pages are the ones with the most who said going. So and also the 𝗵𝗃𝐺, the Cebu Heritage Hotel page. So I am looking at both. The team is looking at only the 𝗵𝗃𝐺 Hotel page. So now the first question is for those on site, in person. If you know the answer, you raise your hand and you go to the first one to raise the hand would go to the microphone and give the answer. So this is the question. This is a very easy answer. The answer is, you would be able to answer this so fast. The prize would be a kagawasan. Kagawasan is the Cebuano word for freedom. Or independence. Kagawasan petit cake. It has the colors of the Philippine flag. I think the NHCP would not get angry because it has no stars and sun. So it's just colors. So no, it has no white. It's just yellow, red, and blue in the cake. The cupcakes here has no red and white, so it's not yet complete. The kagawasan cupcake that I have with me. So this is the question, very easy. The first one to raise his or her hand would go to the microphone. Can you see? Can you help watch? May you help watch who is the first to raise his or her hand for this question? And the question is this. Give the complete name of the Cebuano student of Rizal in Dapitan. Sige. In black, to the microphone. Please introduce your name and then give your answer. Get ready to the rest if in case the answer is not correct.
It's Marshall Borromeo.
Congratulations. What is your name? Your name?
I'm Dalisay Amarillo. I'm with Flag.
From the Flag Tour Guide. Congratulations. So the tour guides really listen to discussions because they need to listen to their guests who are the tourists to be able also to answer the question. So congratulations to the name. What's the name again? What's her name? 𝗫𝗍𝐸, very pure na, no? 𝗫𝗍𝐸, very pure. So the congratulations, 𝗫𝗍𝐸, for giving the correct answer. And the question number 2 is for those online. So we are looking at our Facebook page, and also, so we have this question. If no one will be able to answer from the, huh?
Also receive 𝐥𝐸𝐸𝐞 𝐑𝐢𝐳𝐚𝐥.
Yes.
Yes.
𝐥𝐸𝐸𝐞
Okay.
Comics. So there is a comics on 𝐥𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐞, authored also by Professor 𝗏. And so this is the question number 2 for those online, but not here. If they are not able to answer, you will have a chance. If those online cannot answer this, so this is the question for those online.
Sige nga.
Very, very hard. Very easy also. And you will be able to win. You come to Cebu and to 𝗵𝗃𝗄, you will win a hilot binisaya, and a traditional Visayan massage, learned by our therapists from really our manghihilot nga traditional manghihilot. So you get an orasyon in your hilot. So this is the question. You win a hilot, a massage, if you answer this. Those online. According to Don Gregorio Abellana, a Cebuano author, and a member, and a manggugubot sa Sugbo in 1898, what is the date of the first, what was the date when the first chapter of the Cebu Katipunan was formed? Complete date, ha? The month, day, and year. So we have answers. Also ba ni si Ferdy Aparticio, Hall of Famer na nino? Di na ni mo, dili na nato ni siya, kuha na ni siya, kanang forfeited na ni, because kanang forfeited na ni kay, because of, so there should be a month, date, the day, and then the year. Date and year. So who is the first? So si Ferdy kay would give away his prize. So who was the first to give the answer? The correct answer. It's 𝗵𝗃𝗄. It's 𝗵𝗃𝗄. June 19, 1897, the birthday of Rizal, 1897. Congratulations to 𝗵𝗃𝗄. 𝗵𝗃𝗄 is from Taguig City and Pateros. Is this a teacher or someone an in charge? I think she's an in charge of the history or araling social studies social studies coordinator in Taguig City and Pateros. I'm not sure if I'm correct. Congratulations to 𝗵𝗃𝗄. To 𝗵𝗃𝗄. Congratulations. And then the last but not the least question is the third question. You will win a 𝗂𝗵𝘂 at our Hardin Dagami. You can either have a flower, a hulum kawa with flowers and milk, or you can have a tinola, like with herbs and with ginger and lemongrass. So, or a flower bath. Si 𝗵𝗃𝗄 is from Oslob, Cebu, from Cebu City. Congratulations, 𝗵𝗃𝗄. And so the last but not the least question, which is very easy, and the one who would answer will win this. And this is the question. Everyone who has not yet won a prize in this hall and also online, please put it at the comment section of the 𝗵𝗃𝗄 sa Cebu Heritage Hotel. Do they have internet? So this is the question, very easy. You will have your Instagrammable kawa bath. It's just a warm bath. You can bear it. It's just like a warm bath. So very easy. Give the complete birth date of Dr. Jose Rizal. The month, day, and year. You will be the one to judge. You judge what is the correct, which one. So every one of us has gone through Rizal in college, studied Rizal. Do we know the exact birth date of Rizal? Is Professor Rex still around? Did he come back? Wala na? So, what is the correct answer? Who is the first to answer correctly? So, actually, we are celebrating the 162nd birth anniversary. Online, di pwede dili pwede in person. We already said the mechanics. So, you can only answer online. For those on site and online, we all answer online through the comment section. So, unsa man, did you get the first one to answer correctly? What is the birth date? Also, we have also an answer at the National Quincentennial Committee page. But she gave two answers. So who was the first to give the correct answer? So this is 𝗲𝗵𝐬𝐞. 𝗲𝗵𝐬𝐞, congratulations. From where are you in the Philippines? Congratulations for giving the correct answer. And the correct answer is 162 years ago, which is June 19, 18, Osa? 61. 162 years ago. So 𝗲𝗵𝐬𝐞 is from Cebu City, and 𝗫𝗶𝘅 says, kindly shout out to all SDO, DepEd, SDO Tapat teachers. We are participating online. Congratulations. Thank you very much for always joining us in our events. Si Danny nag-comment una man ko oy. So what's the first in your kuan? In Kamay in your kuan. So Danny, better luck next time. There is always a next time. We have events twice a month. So sometimes thrice a month. So we will have the closing statement from I think the Professor Xiao will still have his closing statement before we would invite you. Don't forget on July 1 we will have Libro Fest, and we will have a poetry reading and a description of our books here at 𝗵𝗃𝘅 sa Cebu Heritage Hotel. And if you buy 3 books, you will get 10% off. And if you will answer a trivia quiz, and you buy a book, you will get a 𝗵𝗃𝘅 truffle ball, a sweet treat. And then also on July 28, it's a history of the guitar, of the string instruments from pre-colonial times until the present time with the UP Diliman College of Music former Dean, Dr. Jose 𝗵𝗂𝐴, and also a singer-songwriter from Cebu, 𝗵𝗫𝐿 We will have a video on the history of the guitar. And also on July 29 is the celebration, even if Leon Kilat was born on July 27, we will have the celebration on July 29 here with a hybrid speech contest. So now we would like to ask the closing words from our resource person, Professor Xiao.
So, oops, I will not take so long. I think I would like to just remind everyone that if we're talking about an appropriate memorial for our national hero, I think the best memorial is not a memorial in stone, but a memorial that is living, and that memorial is us. When we become a good Filipino, when we love our country, when we provide for our families and propagate our culture, I think we are the best memorial for our national hero. Maraming salamat po. Dagang salamat, Cebu. Thanks. I love Cebu. I will always love it. Salamat sa inyo.
Salamat, Professor Xiao. It's really a pleasure having you with us on site today. And so we would like to thank those on site and online. Congratulations to all the winners. And we thank our partners, the University of San Carlos Department of Political Science, the Carolinian Political Science Society, the University of San Carlos Department of Sociology, Anthropology, and History, the Dapitan Historical Society, Museo Sugbo, the Yandi Heritage Center, Central Visayas Association of Museums, the Rizal Shrine, the National Historical Commission of the Philippines, Museo ni Rizal sa Dapitan, and so on 2020. And we would like to show you the third episode of our
Yun na.
Don't Give Up on Us, Baby. And this is the third episode, I Love You So Bad.
Ayaw ka hagdo. Niara ko. Marco!
Mia!
Noon sa siya. Tabang! Tabang! Ang sinitabo.
Ato naunta ang kadaugan. Nagdilaob na ang kuta. Napukan na ang mga manulupig. Ang ilang mga patay nga lawas nabugnaw na. Nakadaog naman naunta ta. Apan, layo pa gani sila makadugog ka. Niuyog ang yuta sa ilang pagmarcha. Kapatan, kalimaan pa siguro ang atong mga pwersa. Idani nila bisan ang mga Bisaya nga sama nato. Kadtong nagpaulipon, ning sulong sila kay pag-away batok sa ilang kagulong dugo. Bisaya kontra sa Bisaya.
Bisaya usap ang nidunggam niya?
Bahin yun kini sa ilang plano. Nahibulaan siguro nila nga wala sila daganan kontra nato mga Bisaya kung gubat na ang sigutan. Moong ipahimuslan na lang nila ang mga sama nato nga mga Bisaya. Kung nagkahiusa lang yun ang atong tumong, kung wala lang yung pagbudhi, mao ka na ang panahon magabot nato ang kadaugan.
Kinsa man mga kauban, unsay ta sa katipunan? Wa ko kay bawo sa imong ipangsulti.
Ayaw ko yung mga tonto. Ano sa awan mong walsa?
Wa ko kay bawo.
Asa ang mas importante kanimo? Ang kinabuhi sa imong mga kauban o ang kinabuhi kanimo?
Sis, kung ako pa ato, mutugan na lang ko kay.
I can't believe you.
Hala, uy, ikaw ko no, be. Kung ikay tiyo na nagpusil sa baba, you think magtigbaba imong love for country? Fear is stronger than love.
So have no fear.
Possible dahil na.
Yes. I'll show you ha. Close your eyes. Think of something you always wanted to do pero hadlok kayo kabuhaton. Ay, li. Okay, think about the worst case scenario. Just trust me, okay? Okay, Karon, think about the best case scenario. Okay? Nagpapasa sila. Papasa ang duha, good or bad. And instead, think of this. Huna-huna ang tanang butang nga imong giagian para lang makaabot kadta. Tanang kasakit, tanang kalipay. It's not about how it is going to end up, good or bad. It's just about this. Worth it but to try? Do you love it more than you fear it?
I do.
You do?
Yes, I do. Mia. Will you be my girlfriend?
Wala jud kay tugan.
Sala ka pangutana. Unsang adlaw karon?
Ikaduhang adlaw. Dili di ay. 3 de Abril.
Padayon mga kauban, mabuhi ang Pilipinas!
Mabuhi!
Ikaw kauban, buhi ang atong mga kauban nga ilang gipangbilanggo tungod sa ilang kaligon, milampos ang atong pag-alsa. Sugato na to sila balik sa kira, isip mga bayani.
Mahimo, General. Kauban, gawas na kamo. Marco?
Mia, nganong naa ka diri?
Long story. Dali, sawa pa ni abot ang...
Mia, wait. There's something I have to tell you. I'm sorry.
Sorry for what?
For giving up on us. I thought na masaya na lang na magbulag ta. Wala tay future sa US. Pero when I was there, all I did was miss the Philippines. I miss you, Mia. I know na wala na ko'y chance, wala na ko'y right na musulti, pero if you give me a chance, I'll fight for you.
Marco, I talk later.
The victory of the Cebu Revolution was 125 years ago. But even today, makarelate kapon ko, when you love something, you fight for it. Bahalag lisod, bahalag dugay. And if dili maimo in the first try, it will just make you stronger when you try again.
Ayaw kalimot nga in the 333 years of Spanish rule, there were 333 years of revolt too. Pagkadaog nato sa 1898, it was a 333-year-old victory.
In short,
A round of applause for our youth who created that video. So it was really written, directed, performed by the youth. Ako ra gyud ang naapil adto nga dili youth. So so but of course ako ang voice ko about history, and of course we also ask questions from Dr. Rolly Borinaga, from Dr. George Borinaga, and there is a one scene in that, the last episode, that I would like to share with you. And this is really the last in this event, because this is not usually discussed in history. It was 1589. So you have seen that person who was imprisoned because in 1589 in Talisay, before the Spaniards came, land was not privately owned. During Spanish period, land was already started, they already started privatizing the land, and they would sell the land. And so there was the Talisaynons rebelled, the Cebuanos rebelled, that dissatisfied Cebuanos rebelled regarding this, and leaders of the revolt described themselves as Don, or members of the pre-Hispanic Dato class, and they murdered some Spanish colonists. But the revolt was quashed by the Spanish force of 50 to 60 soldiers, and the captured leaders were arrested, tried, and publicly executed. And the heads of the rebels were placed on stakes along the beach, running from the city to San Nicolas town. So that was as early as 1589. So, but then the revolt continued, and even if they failed, they continued until the National Revolution happened. So don't give up on us, baby. So and you would see there was gold on the native put gold on the chest, because the pre-colonial Visayans believed that they need to have gold with them for them to go to paradise. So gold was very important. So daghang salamat ug malipayong pagsaulog sa usa ka gatos ug kawan og 5 ka tuig nga kagawasan sa Pilipinas. And happy birthday, happy 162nd birthday to Dr. Jose Rizal. Daghang salamat ug maayong gabi sa tanan. Ano ta?
Alerta katipunan sa bukid, ang puloy anan, dito matagamtaman. Kakapoy sa kalawasan, walay ulan, walay habon, walay banig. Pagkatulog, Giunlan pa ang sundan, abanseng makalinisan. Alerta katipunan, ang tuson, ang kalisdanan. Dugangan nato ang kaisog, bisag mamatay pa sa panggubatan. Tumong natong idusok, nasutupson, pugupayon, dali na kita magkikisok, abanseng makalinisan. Alerta katipunan, sa bukid ang pulianan, dito madagang taban, nakapoy sa kalawasan. Walay ulan, walay hapon, walay banig, nagkatulog, giunlan pa ang sundan, abanseng makalinisan. Alerta katipunan, ang tuson, ang kalisdanan. Dugangan nato ang kaisog, bisag mamatay pa sa panggubatan. Tumong nato inusok, nasutupson, pugupayon, ay nakita makipisok, abanseng makalinisan. Alerta katipunan, abanseng makalinisan. Alerta